Hi, it's Kane Hodder. You're listening to Death Curse Society. Keep listening. Or don't fucking listen. I don't care.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Monday Maniacs from Death Curse Society. I'm Red Crank. I got Zigzag, and
guess the Colonel is on assignment tonight.
The Colonel is on assignment. Yes, the Colonel is taking the night off, and he will be back with us next week. No worries. Has not. He did wash his dick. He's not sick.
Unlike us from the last week. Shit, man. Fuck, man. It was awful. But, last week in the plane and everything, this week Colonel's not here. So, I guess it's simpatico. It had to be something,
Right. All right. We got a busy show tonight, so we're going to try to get right into it. First off, though, before we get everything started, want to thank our members, our final girls and guys, Chris, Lorena, Tyrone, our Crazy Ralphs, Rick and Raymond, and, of course, our camp counselors, 42nd Street Pete, Corey, Luke, Michigan Dave, S. Michael, Stacy Lynn, Orlando, Patricia, and JJ. Thank you, guys.
Oops.
Of course. And,
there you have it.
And always, you can check out our website at deathcursesociety.com, figure out how you can become a member. Right there, click the Join tab and look at the information on there and figure out what tier you can afford. It's pretty simple. It's just like that. And of course, special thanks to our associate producer, C. Faze. Let's check on him for a little bit. Faze, what is up, sir?
What is up? Just another normal week.
That's right. How you been this week? You been doing all right?
Yeah, a little better this time around.
Yeah. You ready for our next big trip that we can't necessarily announce yet?
Can't necessarily announce it, but yes.
That's
very much so.
Excellent.
Really? I thought we had that set.
We gotta wait for them. We gotta wait for them to announce it first.
Yes. The T's and the I's, the chicken and the egg, the whole fucking thing. But we'll have something to say here in a couple of days, probably.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And Faze, one last question. You ready for Never Hike Alone on Friday the 13th coming out?
Yes.
All right. That's great. Thank you, Faze.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
There you go.
And we'll come back to him later, though.
We'll not hear what he has to say later as well. Yeah.
That was probably the longest we've had him on.
Right. Kept waiting for it. I was like, well, shit, maybe his button's not working. I don't know what's going on.
No, you have to drag the T's out a little bit.
Yes. So you know what I mean? He almost starts to believe that he's going to get to say what he wants to say finally, and then you jerk the fucking rug out from under his legs again.
That's right.
Lucy,
that's how we go.
Football on Charlie Brown. That's what
how we go.
I love it.
Yep. Guys, Never Hike Alone 2 drops this Friday the 13th. If you're in the Colorado area, you can check it out at the Telluride Horror Festival. Or if you're not, you can watch it on YouTube. Or if you're in Iowa, you can check it out that Saturday at some convention. I can't remember which one it is right now. But we have the writer, director, and creator of the whole Never Hike Alone shebang series here to join us, Mr. Vincent DiSanti. How are you, sir?
Good. How you guys doing? Good seeing you again.
Excellent.
Wow, man.
Good to see you again. Yeah, I wanted to tell you, it was really such a pleasure to finally bump into you and meet you in person in Pasadena last weekend. That was one of the highlights of my trip out there. And I'm not just blowing smoke, man. I love meeting the people that we get to talk to through this little technological box. And,
yeah, very true. It's one of the best things I love about conventions, especially, like I was telling you guys a little bit before we came on, seeing people that I recognize from around the country and other people that I go to conventions with. I don't usually get out to them when they're in California, but to be at one in Pasadena, especially as one as big as H45, was a lot of fun, and to see a lot of familiar faces was a great time. I'm very glad that we went. I got a shout out to the guys at Cinescare who hosted me at the booth. And you got to sit with Matthew and his wife Michelle, and we had a good time on the Saturday that I got to go before the one day I had off. But it was great. I mean, it was good seeing you guys, and there was people from the film who were there. I don't know if you guys saw Kaiden Ritchie walking around in his Ghost Jason outfit.
Yeah.
Associate producer Kristen Asensio was walking around. He may have said hi to you guys. I can't remember. And just a bunch of other people that I got to see. And so seeing you guys was like a nice special treat. I didn't realize you were coming out, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Craig was like, "Yeah, we get to finally meet Vince in person." I had to stop and go, "Really? We all this time we haven't run into Vince at a fucking con? I couldn't believe it, And then I was like, "Sure enough, yeah, finally."
Yeah, you guys are hitting a lot of the ones that like I usually go to, but we've just been so busy with Never Hike this year that I really haven't been on the circuit as much as I usually am promoting because I'm creating. So, there's always like a nice. Obviously, I'll be back out on the road after this one. But it's sort of nice. I like to kind of check in and get like a breath of fresh air, seeing everybody, and a little bit more motivation, I guess you could say.
Excellent, man. Well, like I said, Never Hike Alone 2 drops this Friday. Are you ready? I'll just say that.
Oh man,
yeah.
What are the last steps? What are the last steps you have to do before it's ready to go?
Right now we're just in the middle of doing the final export. It just comes down to watching it through, making sure there are no errors with the render. It should be done tonight. We'll review it and get it all out. And then there's the process of there's 2 copies of the film that are going to be made. One that's going for a DCP that is for our Telluride screening, and other screenings possibly in the future will have this DCP to play at theatrical screenings. So actual theaters, which require that type of license and file type. And then we're going to have another one that's built specifically for YouTube. The guys at Iceman Audio sort of surprised me. I didn't realize this was coming, but they optimized our audio for, little, computer speakers and phones and things like that. So issues we may have run into the past with footsteps sort of being too loud or jacked up because it's the theater edition. We're able to do that. So they did. So we're sort of just putting those things together. Tomorrow I have to sit down, upload things privately to YouTube, set things going. Also, along with that, there's going to be a post of a special trailer that we're going to release tomorrow. That's going to release, the time of day that it's going to be released, the running time, all that fun stuff is going to be in the information. But we sort of came up with this idea of like, I think people who know Never Hike Alone and who follow it will understand specifically where Never Hike Alone 2 is going. Because fans of Never Hike Alone, the 2,700 people who backed the film and help raise the money, they've been along for the ride. They've watched the interviews. They've sort of heard my spiel. So I don't think anything in the film is really going to surprise them when they finally see it in front of their face. But I think it's for the fans that are sort of just catching on. This trailer is sort of a celebration of Friday the 13th, and then what Friday the 13th means to Never Hike Alone, and what Never Hike Alone means to Friday the 13th. And so it's going to have a mix of like lots of things. I don't want to spoil too much, but it's cool. It's like a real nice mishmash of a lot of different things. And then we're going to see some brand new footage from Never Hike Alone 2 in it. And I think that people will hopefully get people excited. I mean, this is just any other week. There's a Friday the 13th at the end of this week. And I think, people have gotten too used to not getting excited that it's Friday the 13th. We're going to watch Friday the 13th and there's new stuff coming out. Even if it's fan material. At least there's something. We have the stuff will come next year, the TV shows, if there's news about films and things like that, we'll see where the rights kind of land. But for now, this has been a crazy 6-year journey of fans helping fans do this unthinkable act, which is raise this amount of money, get alumni involved, and sort of bring an end to the series or the original franchise in a way that has never really been done before with a series or in a fan film. I mean, I think we've seen different fan films carry on different stories, but an attempt to actually sort of put a feather in the cap of Friday the 13th from the Paramount era. Is sort
or
of
a nail in the coffin, if you will.
Yeah, I think that would be too a nail in the coffin to kind of say goodbye to that era of Jason and welcome a new one. Because, like I said, like I got into this journey because, you know, for the longest time, Friday the 13th, as a, you know, being a fan was a real letdown. Like ever since '93, it's just been like one thing after the next. You know, no clear delineation of like what they're going to do with the franchise. Lots of missed opportunities. So, Never Hike Alone 2 is really this opportunity that I had because, you know, fans came out and supported after the first one, and we're able to tell the story that I hope fans connect with on multiple levels, because there's the fun Jason aspect of it, there's the, you know, dramatic story, you know, emotion element to it, you know, there's the action, there's the indie feel, there's all those types of things. But just the fact that this is all generated without any studio help, and we get it to the place that we can get it, we can't do it without the fans. And there's something to be, you know, excited about this week.
Absolutely.
Because when this thing drops, it's going to be, you know, fans are going to be talking, like I said in the Indiegogo, fans are going to be talking about it for a while, this whole entire, you know, spectrum of what we've done over the last 7 years. And I just hope fans, like I said, like the goal is always the same. I want to make fans smile on Friday the 13th. So that's the mission this week. And we want to make fans happy, and that's what we're looking forward to.
I'm already smiling just waiting for this. So
I mean, we got to see a bit of the trailer there at the con last week.
We did.
And I'm serious. I got the goosebumps when it's just a really powerful scene that was kind of overshooting the camp, and something's about to fucking go down. And it looked like, oh yeah, this is gonna.
Don't give it away or anything.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
You can't tell it from there. But no, we're really excited. I think that's just like, it's, you know, I'd be lying if I didn't say that it was a long, hard year for me. This film came together in the absolute sort of opposite way in which we planned it. It wasn't by, you know, it's no one's fault. It was just sort of the circumstances that were given to us. And it turned what could have been a very smooth and easy sort of 2-week shoot that would have got most of the movie done, and we could have just spent the rest of the summer plucking off the things that we needed. It turned it into a real, like, if we miss this window, the movie's not going to happen again this year. You know, we've been, let me just say that there's a lot of people who worked really, really, really hard, especially our post-production department, who put this film together in half the amount of time that they were originally supposed to do it. And that's going from a full cut to a finalized export of professional level. That's a lot of work. So, you know, big shout out to a lot of people. Big shout out to, you know, Ronin Global, who helped us with the trailer, Mike Appy at Skylab Post, who is our lead editor and is just the man, our assistants that helped out. Collage Montage, Rob Vorncall, who's in charge of he's a VFX producer, he's the colorist, he's the online editor, so he's wearing a lot of hats. Obviously Ryan Perez Dapple, who came back and did the score. I just want to say that, like, we put together the film, and for a long time we listened to it with different scores and, you know, professional things that are laid over it as the temp track. But I can tell you, like, when Ryan's score starts to come in, everything changes, and it's just like, oh, okay, now it all fits, and like it finally flows. And I'm really excited for I like, fans are going to sit down, and you know, they're going to be, the music's awesome, the scenes are great, all the actors did amazing. There's a lot of people in the film. They all contribute in different ways, and, you know, every role, big or small, is well played. So I'm really proud of everybody. You know, obviously we have Nora Hewitt coming back and doing the effects with Cody Wilkins, who was our fabricator, you know, effects artist, effects lead, did a lot of like 3D modeling for us for a lot of the gags, and was able to build a ton of the stuff. CFX came and did a lot of our appliances. Jeremy Howard at Horror Effects Designs, you know, did a lot of our costume work and sent a lot of our weapons our way, you know, specialized. It's funny, like, where we've come from Never Hike Alone, we're now like, Jason has an axe, like Ghost Jason has an axe. He has different weapons that are signature, and that we, you know, there's somebody in the middle of from Texas who creates them for us, because all of what spawned from there. And I think it's, you know, the long short of it is that, like, it's crazy to see how far this has come, and we hope people are excited. And it took a lot of people to get here, but it's the product of a lot of people coming to create content where the studios have just had their hands tied and haven't been able to produce anything since 2009.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this quickly. Effects wise, do you think you've beaten that axe attack from Never Hike in the Snow? That was pretty fucking intense, man.
There is some stuff in Never Hike Alone 2 that is right up on that level with grandness and fun. And there's stuff that, it's tough to beat, Blood in the Snow and the whole thing. That the whole film was designed around the one kill, but we have several kills in Never Hike Alone 2 that are just, we put that extra Womp Stomp edge on it, I guess you could say. Like, there's an extra cinematic quality of creating something that's a lasting impression. And when you think about these moments, there's going to be an image on screen that your mind will flash to, and it will very easily come to people. And there's a few of them that have that. And there's a few moments that I think are going to get fans cheering. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. And you hover on that shot a little bit, longer than a lot of horror films would too, which
so good.
Yeah. It's still, and we don't necessarily, we do it for the pace of story. Everything for me is driven by pace. It's like nothing is too short or overstays its welcome. And I'm not saying we're perfect. There's probably going to be moments where I'm watching the film being like, you know what, I wish I would have cut that a little shorter, or blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, they become a lot of lateral moves of like, I can do all these little shimmy things, but it's only going to make the film 1% better versus like, let it be and let people just take it in, and they're not going to sort of judge it for the small interest. Like, if they get down to the nitty gritty, you lost them way before that. So we just want something that fans sort of lock into. The opening credit sequence is friggin' awesome. I've been looking forward to building it for a long time, and we had it very figured out, and it slowly came together because there was a lot of work that had to go into it, stylizing it and things like that. So, my shout out to Mike again for putting that together. But yeah, there's just a lot of fun to be had. And if you've been a fan and you've watched Never Hike Alone 1 and Never Hike in the Snow and the Ghost Cut and kept up with it, like all those questions, like what I keep saying is all the questions that you've been asking over the last 4 years, they're all waiting to be told. And I'm excited for people to finally get the answers that they've been looking for. And then, we can talk about it after the film, and I hope people enjoy it. And, we'll see what the future holds.
Nice. Well, according to my estimates, Never Hike Alone first came to the public eye in 2016 as a Kickstarter project, which actually failed to meet its initial fundraising goal of $40,000. Then another campaign was created shortly afterwards, which raised about $18,934 from 294 individual backers. When you started this back then, did you ever imagine that it was going to consume your life for 7 years?
No, I didn't think I'd still be doing this. And I didn't, it was just, I just kept following it one opportunity after the next. But if you really think about it, it actually started in 2013 when I went on the initial hike and scout, quote unquote, because I was just like looking for cool places in the woods to shoot. If I didn't find that little cabin village in the middle of Big Bear and walk around and get the idea, this would have never happened. And this has been a slowly turning wheel that just picked up steam over time. And I wasn't able to actually get out into the field and try to make it happen until like 2014, which failed miserably again. But yeah, it took until 2016 for it to like even become something. And then to see how much it's grown since then has been ridiculous. And so I think that like, I don't know, I can't explain it. People ask me all the time, like, well, why do you put so much investment into a fan film you can't make money from and all this stuff? And I'm like, I don't know how to explain it, but everything has been pushing me in this direction as far as, opportunity and ideas and passion. And I just wanted to see this through to the end. It was an opportunity to work with Tom Matthews and Vinny Guastafaro and really kind of say something about Friday the 13th with people that could actually help me, give it an actual voice versus just sort of making it up from a fan standpoint. And, it's made me a much better filmmaker than when I started out. That's for sure. And the things I know about production and, the lessons that I've learned along the way have prepared me to, I think once this is done, step into the original field and start pushing some of those projects and showing fans what Womp Stomp and our team is capable of in that market. And we have with the Pathosis project, we have with other projects that we've released to show that we have the ability to create that level of entertainment. We just want to do it now with, a lot of the same people that you see already. I mean, Tom wants to come back and work with us. Vinny would obviously come back on a heartbeat. We've enlisted Doug Tate, who's been a great friend of the production, and he's been a champion of ours for years. several other Friday the 13th alumni that if I picked up the phone and said, hey, you want a part in this film? I mean, Ron Sloan has worked with us a handful of times and just worked with us on Dylan's New Nightmare.
Yes.
And is a pleasure to work with. Same thing with like Judy Aronson and Tracy Savage and Deb Voorhees, Cindy Kanai, always a helpful hand, married to Vinny Guastafaro. So, our little family of alumni and people that we worked with has really grown over the years. And it's nice to sort of be in that place to be able to call upon people who have a pretty awesome skill set to help, enhance your film and tell your stories.
Okay. Well, what were some of the early lessons that you learned from crowdfunding that you could pass on to others? I mean, because you went from raising almost 19,000 to over 300,000 in 6 years. So you've clearly picked up some tricks along the way.
The number one trick, put a hockey mask on it.
That does help, doesn't it?
It does really help. No, I think that first and foremost, you have to realize that if you don't invest in yourself, no one will invest in you. Before you walk out there with an idea for a crowdfunding campaign, you have to understand that you have to put in some sweat equity and some money and some time to create some type of proof that you can deliver what you say you're going to deliver. And then you have to live and die by that proof. And then, after that, that's sort of, and that was sort of like the lesson we learned with Never Hike Alone, which was we created a trailer that really did work. But people just really undervalued what a fan film could do and didn't think that we had it to do it because we had nothing really other than this short trailer to really sell what we were going to do. The lesson that I learned along the way really was just that there's no one solution. There is no, it doesn't really ever end with, okay, we raise the money and that's it. Now we just make the movie. You have to constantly keep raising money because so many things come up, so many things you didn't plan for, so many things that you didn't intend to happen that you all of a sudden owe money to this and you owe money to that. And this is going to be this much more expensive because you chose to do it on a specific weekend that, happens to raise, and you're like, it's okay. What's next? So you constantly doing that with shipping, making sure that you're charging people well for shipping because it is expensive. It's going to come back and bite you in the end. And now what a lot of people don't realize is that the number they see on Indiegogo isn't just the money raised to do the perks. It's also includes what's supposed to be in shipping. So if you sell something for $100 that has $20 in shipping, but after, percentages, you're only getting $110 of that. Well, guess what? That $20 now becomes $90. That $120 became $90 real quick. And that happens thousands of times throughout the course of the campaign. So, we even put up a graphic on the thing the other day to kind of make it transparent for fans to see, to be like, this is how much money we've actually raised. The number that has actually passed through the campaign, the real number is $314,000. Our campaign lists 304 because $10,000 was refunds. There's $15,000, $16,000 in Indiegogo fees. There's another $10,000 in payment processing fees. So that's just to get started. And then it's, it's the process of doing that. So when you're getting into film production and you're doing that, you really have to understand that, okay, our goal is $50,000. If I raise $50,000, it's not $50,000, it's $40,000. I need to raise 60 or 70 in order to get the real money that I need. And so, we set these goals. And so when you're doing a crowdfund, when you're setting these goals, you really have to think ahead about the money that you're going to lose right off the bat. And you have to make up for that right away. And then you have to put yourself in position to keep raising money, to keep improving your product. Even if you're only making a few bucks a month, the minute your product becomes available, like with Never Hike Alone 2, the biggest lesson that I've learned, and the one thing that I did was I never closed this campaign. Anytime I got into an emergency situation, I would push, our sales. We would get a little bit of extra money. It would help patchwork us into the next, fix that problem and move on to the next thing. It became, the lifesaver of the film, where in the past I had actually closed campaigns and had no access to new money and was scraping it together from personal funds. So I would say is the biggest lesson that I've learned, is that you have to just keep going and don't stop until it's done and it's out and it's completely paid for. And then, you try to just break even as best as possible. But when you're getting into crowdfunding, you have to be prepared to do it all. You have to be a salesman. You have to be, a filmmaker, you got to be a widget maker and a shipping center and all these different things. And you have to commit from start to finish for every project that you do. And if you just want to be a filmmaker and you don't have it in mind to take care of the people who have supported you, you're not going to go very far in crowdfunding.
Right. Speaking of, the Indiegogo is still live, like you just mentioned. So, Faze, if you would please post that link in the comments so people can grab some Blu-rays, posters, things like that.
Yeah, we recently revamped it so it's the home video campaign style now. So everything sort of, we had all the special credits stripped from it. So it's pretty much a back to a bare bones, simple campaign for people to go to if they're just discovering the film and they want to pre-order on Blu-ray. We've also officially announced that the Jarvis versus Jason Blu-ray, the limited edition one, is coming in a red case. So if that didn't change your mind before to pick one up, definitely give it a thought now. Lots of other cool things. We brought back the 8-inch Jason figures, and we're going to have some new stuff after the film releases, because at that point it will no longer, we'll probably a week after we'll go with the spoiler perks that will come out for people who will be interested in new stuff that they'll see from the film. Plus lots of props from the set, big props too, like big effects props and things like that haven't been claimed yet, and nobody became an executive producer or a producer through the campaign. So there's things that, an associate, like, hey, I love the associate producers, there's a ton of them, but you don't get like the $5,000 VFX rig that we had to pay for. You know what I mean? Like you're still going to get access to weapons and things like that. But there's sort of like, we had a tier system, but we're just going to put those props directly onto the campaign so people can sort of have a piece of horror history in their home. And there's one thing that I think that somebody needs to jump on, because it'd be a cool thing to have.
Oh boy. I can't wait to see what that might be.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of the crowdfunding, early on, you used Kickstarter as your funding home, but then switched to Indiegogo. So for any aspiring upcoming filmmakers that are out there that may be thinking about crowdfunding, what are some of the pros and cons of each of those?
Indiegogo charges people right away. So there's no go through the campaign. It's now active. So now we're going to charge your card, and all of a sudden people's cards don't go through. There's like sort of Kickstarter has a different way where like you get through the campaign and then it's finally time to fulfill. And then everyone has to fill out a survey. So you're chasing people down for surveys. Whereas Indiegogo is a very like streamlined approach for the backer. They get what they want. They pay for it right there in the moment, and the money is, put into the account for that month. With Indiegogo, you can do a flexible funding where if you don't raise all, your funding, you can still get that money. You can choose to take that money if you want, and because you think you might have enough to get going at least. They also have the in-demand option, which allows you to stay open. Like we have, if you reach your goal, you're able to keep going with that. I would say that like crowdfunding is still sort of, each of them sort of have the same issues. Indiegogo has been struggling, I think, with film lately, where they used to be. I don't think they're as popular with film as they once were, whereas Kickstarter is like really great with film. I just think as a campaigner, it's not as fluid as it is with Indiegogo, but Indiegogo also isn't as well, it doesn't push film as much as Kickstarter pushes film. So there's different things that you can do. It just depends on how you want to do it. I've heard, 50-50 things about Seed and Spark, and GoFundMe and things like that. I think if you want to be successful, you want to be probably on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. You can give Seed and Spark a chance, but I've checked out those pages and they just don't seem as intuitive or as fun as that stuff as Indiegogo and Kickstarter let you build your page. So I think that that's definitely one of the things that they both have. But honestly, like I'll be truthful, both systems are antiquated in a lot of ways as well. In fact, a lot of the stuff that I do as far as fulfilling perks, I don't use their software. I pull everybody off the system because their system of finding people and looking up orders sucks. Like organizing people sucks. Like they create a lot of extra work for you. So if you put in a little extra work and you kind of organize it yourself into your own proprietary lists, like I do, fulfillment becomes very easy on the back end. So if you have an Excel, or if you have Google Docs and you have Sheets, if you can find a way to like simplify their name, address, and things like that, and then put all their orders into one slot, that usually reduces the number of legwork you have to do to build their orders at the end of the day.
Interesting.
And and then it's a lot of copy and paste. I would say that like templates are your friends. So your emails, get those templated up. You just drop it in. All you need to do is drop in an email and a tracking number, and everything else is pre-written. Your links to your digital stuff is in there. Your passwords are in there. There's so much stuff for the Womp Stomp page that's just sitting in a sticky on the side of my computer where like one of the digital stickies where I just copy and paste because there's so many common questions. It's so many common things, but fulfillment emails, you don't want to type 2,000 of those things. You want to just copy and paste, and you got to get a good system and how to track it and be ready to chase some people's orders down too.
Very cool. Ziggy, jump in here. I've been talking too much.
Yeah, you've been blabbing the whole time here. No, it's
Sorry,
fine.
dude.
I'm the one who blabs the whole time.
Crank came out with some great questions. He worked on it hard today. He did most of these, so these are great. You are essentially known in the circles as the Friday the 13th fan film guy, or just the fan film guy. Any regrets about that moniker, or has it been a good calling card for you thus far?
No, I mean, I think above all, the thing that everyone kind of gets me is like, you do those fan films. They don't look like fan films. And everybody talks about the level of quality that we bring. It's never about so much that it's a fan film. It's the fact that they don't seem like fan films. And so it is. It's very much it's a compliment. I know that people are probably, again, confused by the fact that I haven't just dove headfirst into some project that, I got set up at Blumhouse, after Never Hike Alone was done. But it's not that easy. And, there's growing that I have to do as a filmmaker as well. And this has been a lot of work. COVID didn't help having to work and like pay my rent and stuff like that. Like, one person only has so much energy to do so many things. And I was so passionate about this. I just sort of invested in the fact that this is just one period of my life. This is one season of my life. I'm turning 40 in October. I worked on this series in the majority of my 30s. I started this when I was 34. It has led to some of the greatest adventures of my life. It led to some of the biggest opportunities of my life. I got to do exactly what I wanted to do, which was work in live action. It opened the door for me to do that. I got interested in doing it, and I learned a ton by doing it. And I'm coming out of the back end a better filmmaker with a ton of contacts from all over the country at legitimate, from independent sites to legitimate studio people that I worked with on other projects that know what I am and know what I've done, and think that, raising about, almost $800,000-$900,000 in crowdfunding over the last 6 years for many different projects is a pretty, you call it what you want, but that's pretty impressive to handle that much money over the last few years as an independent filmmaker. And create these projects that people talk about. There are people lining up to watch Never Hike Alone. There are going to be people in Telluride who are lined up around the block to get into the theater to watch this movie for the first time on a big screen. It's driving anticipation. So I think for anyone to ever be like, well, it's just a fan film, I'm like, I don't care whether it's a fan film, an original film, or anything. If people watch it, that's all that counts.
Let me throw this at you.
I'm most proud of.
So in the regular Hollywood circles, it resonates well. Then the people you would work with, peers that are in the game, let's say, the real films like that, not the fan films. Are you looked at, compared to, like, say, the convention circuit? Everybody loves you there and everything. But, I think it comes down to, they recognize that they see where I'm at my journey, and they know that there's a future there, and people want to work with me. And I want to work with them, and I have lots of work to do. And, everyone's respected this journey that I've gone on, because they understand that it's building something bigger for the future. I can walk away from this at the end and say, hey, I told fans I was going to do this, and I followed it through to the end. And this was the only period in time which we could build it this way. You know what I mean? Like, Tom and Vin are only going to be able to do this for so long. I wasn't going to be able to come back in a decade and get those guys to come back and do it the same way. You know what I mean? I'm asking Tom to go out there and do stunts and fight Jason and do all this stuff. I mean, was he going to be doing that in his 70s? I mean, it's going to be nuts. I'd have to, have him walking around, like, put him in a wheelchair and like bouncing around, like, who knows? But it's for me, it was just like this really great opportunity. And, the industry people see how hard I work. They understand that the way we put these productions together, we have to go through all the same steps that they do. And there's that, but I think that, obviously there is that sort of sentiment that we want to see something original from you. Like, where's the original script? Where's this? And it's not that I haven't handed those things in or worked on those things. It's just a matter of, honestly, like, that stuff just takes longer.
and I've been working on it. Like I've been pitching stuff. I've been building things. We've been trying to find the right money. There's so many ways to say no in Hollywood, and everybody always wants to say no. And so you have to do it in a way that makes them say yes. And so if Never Hike Alone 2 becomes something that generates enough heat for me to have a conversation with somebody and show them how passionate I am about this original project that I have that we can make for, triple the budget of Never Hike Alone, then, all of a sudden we're saying, listen, we can put something in theaters that you can make money on, that you can sell, you can ride this wave that I've created coming out of this independent world. People anticipated what I want to see. And you're taking a very low level risk in terms of film going, because, for independent filmmaking, between 800K and 1.2 million, that's a very low risk venture versus having to do, say, I don't know, spend 400 million on the rights to Exorcist and then put a $100 million movie together and then have to go earn that back in the box office. Horror was built on the backs of filmmakers like me.
Yeah.
And, the up and comers who you take a risk on, you let them try something, and, you'll probably make your money back in international sales. But, if it hits like nothing else. I mean, the way the Paranormal Activity hits, the way that, some of these other films hit. And I think that what people recognize in me is that what they saw in Never Hike Alone is that it hit. It hit in a way, and it got people energized. And one of my unique talents is being able to take my energy and my passion and put it on screen, and it resonates with people. And that makes me, really excited, because it means that I, that I have a good sense for it. You know what I mean? If I'm having a good time, if I'm watching something that I'm creating, I'm saying, yes, this is going to hit, then now I'm starting to feel comfortable. Okay, be confident in those choices and make those choices and let it sit. And the more I do it, the better I'm getting. I still have a long way to go, but long-term aspirations. I would love to be a director on TV. I would love to do series directing, being a director that does 2 or 3 episodes of a True Detective a year. Are you kidding me? I would die to work on a show like that. Do feature films. I would love to do those. You know what I mean? It's opened up a whole new world of what director means to me, being able to go on this journey, and know that there's other aspects to it. Yes, I want to direct film, but I really love long form, storytelling. I like things that keep going. I want to connect something in season 6 back to season 2 that we set up and paid attention, that type of stuff. So I think that, I have a lot to think about and a lot to explore after this. But I'll turn around proudly and say, yeah, I took 6-7 years out of the system to go do this thing and raise $900,000 to go pursue my own passion project. Now I'd like to give you some of that energy. Do you want it?
Dude, I would think if nothing else, I mean, a potential studio or producer, someone or a backer on it would just say, this fucking guy can take that money and stretch it to the maximum value too. I mean, just that alone, talent aside and what you're going to do with it,
Or honestly, they would say, we don't have to give this guy $1 million. We can give him 500,000 and he'll make it.
No, they should definitely give us $1 million. They should definitely give us $1 million. Definitely. But I mean, those are things that like honestly, the money's there not to go into people's pockets. It's going to make it a better movie. It's going to make the conditions better and put your crew in a better mood to do the things you need to do to make horror films, because making horror films is not easy. It's a lot of overnight shoots. It's a lot of tired, cranky filmmakers getting up at 7 p.m. to get out there waiting for the sun to go down and then watching the sunrise the next day and pulling themselves back up and sleeping all day in the hot sun and then getting back up and doing that again over and over. And it's not easy, but when you can afford decent lodging, when you can get your crew decent food, when you can get costumes that look good, and you can get the equipment that looks good, or if you can afford a crane, if you can afford, a few toys that help you craft a cinematic adventure for the audience to go on, that's why we're there. We're there to do something that's special for people, that makes them feel like they're watching something worth, their time. And so, that investment in the amount of money that you raise, like to say that like the difference between a $500,000 movie and $1 million movie, you can do a lot, just in the like keeping your crew happy in a way, can go a long way in the film, just the execution of it.
Nice. Yeah. Well, like I said, I think it would be exciting as hell that, someone that did a fan film, especially one as good as Never Hike Alone, would be picked out by a studio or a producer and given an opportunity? Because that would be so fascinating to be able to go into just any theater across the country and be like, I remember one of this guy's first fucking films that I watched on YouTube 7 years ago. I think that would be so exciting for a ton of fans.
I agree. I've been trying to tell them, be like, you don't understand. The story writes itself. You hire me, you win. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you get to say, like,
the publicity is right there.
I think the backlash would be is then all of a sudden you'd get a bunch of people trying to make their own movies, trying to get jobs that way. But at the same time, why is that a bad thing?
So what?
But they already are. I mean, here's another thing I'll honestly blame you for. I blame you for the 150 bad Friday the 13th fan films that are out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe not independently.
No, I think it was fun. I mean, like when we started, there was a couple waves starting to kind of like roll out, but we really sort of like shook the fan base, and a lot of people fell out of their tree and said, I think I can do this, and ran head first. And I watched people go all the way and make their film and be happy with it. I've seen fan films fall apart. I've seen people with really good ideas not be able to make it. I've seen people with really bad ideas get tons of money, and you're just like, none of it makes sense. But I think that if anything, again, the fans finally had something to do. Mm-hmm. We weren't just sitting around the weight room like Beetlejuice, with our ticket, waiting to see what's her face. We were, we had at least something to discuss, and I think that when fans look back at the history of Friday the 13th, when eventually they're going to make something else and it's going to add to it, and they're going to be like the 20 films of Friday the 13th, but there was the dark times, the fan film era, and then they go and they talk about it, that like that's it. Really just shows you that like the fans have kept this series alive.
Yes, the love and the interest never waned ever.
And it's so much that it bubbled up into us just shooting our own films and raising a bunch of money and like being able to do something that only a select few fan bases really do. But we definitely raised the bar for Friday the 13th, and as far as now what's expected. And I actually apologize to the people that honestly have the sincerest of intentions, who just want to go out in their backyard and have fun, and they're just shooting with their friends, and some asshole comes around and be like, this is no Never Hike Alone, and they're like, we were just trying to have a good time in the backyard and you ruined it. It's like they don't always have to be that. I was trying to make a statement with my film. I wasn't trying to like ruin it for everybody else. And I applaud people as long as they're getting into it with the right intentions, and they have a spirit and love for it, no matter what the production value is. It's it's going to be great.
Even some of the bad ones I enjoy, but you got to find. I mean, even some of the bad Friday the 13th we enjoy. There is no bad Friday. Exactly. Exactly.
It's just sometimes when they're bad, they're fun to even rip apart and like be like, why would you make what does that mean? Like Necronomicon. You're like, what is this shit?
Hey, Adam's a friend of the show too.
Hey, this is when the I hope I make the cut, but he did interview me for the documentary, and I definitely was very honest. I was like, listen, when I was a kid, I fucking hated this movie, and it ruined my life. So let's talk about that for a little bit. And I got to know Adam. He's been a mentor of mine. He's helped me out. Every time I call him or every time I text him, he's right there with a reply. Mm-hmm. So I have nothing wrong against Adam. I've also heard the story of how Jason Goes to Hell come together. I heard his original idea, so I've given him a pass. Yeah. His original idea was brilliant. That's exactly what he wanted to make the film that I wanted to see, and the studio didn't let him. And so it's the studio's fault. I don't blame him for the way Jason Goes to Hell came out. They just set this young kid loose with loose rules that someone else made up and then never took any responsibility for.
No, they didn't.
And then sent him into the fires to go make this thing that I can't believe anybody ever associated with the franchise would think that that's what Friday the 13th wanted out of Friday the 13th fans wanted out of Friday the 13th, which is also why it scares me to death when I hear original creators getting involved with new projects, because I do feel that although they were there at the beginning, they have no clue about the special secret sauce that keeps the actual franchise going. Right. And I feel like their own, whatever it is, whatever they're dealing with, and they're taking it out on the Friday the 13th fans. I just don't feel it's necessarily a guarantee that good material is going to come out if they're the ones pressing the buttons, because they've obviously shown in the past that they can't do it.
Right. Let me hit a couple of comments, and then Ziggy, I'm going to come back to you for the fifth question, I believe. Tarek says, that's good info on the crowdfunding. I wondered why some campaigns did perk tiers differently. That makes sense now. And actually, this comes back to, I think I've spoken to you about this before. I know I've spoken to a couple other directors that we've had on the show. One of the things that we've talked about just privately, and this is kind of a behind the scenes DCS thing, I would love to do a film school series with like people like you, Adam, and others, Deborah Voorhees, about how they got some of their films together, and talk about the individual little processes, like the crowdfunding, like the budgeting, like the behind the scenes stuff that you don't really get talked about, that may help aspiring filmmakers that don't have the opportunity to go to a UCLA film school or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to go to one of those either. Like, I went to a very very meager, like simple little like film production school where I learned some editing software, and they really didn't prepare me for the film world. I had to learn about that in the actual thing. I think that it's good to sit down and like listen to it and study and hear what people have to say, but there's nothing like getting out there and doing it either. Right. So I always like really push people to like try to get out to film sets and be a volunteer and be willing to give yourself up to the production, to listen, and not go there with the sense of, I'm going to be the next great film director. Go there and being like, what can I learn today? Who's going to teach me something today? And there's something to learn about every department. Yeah.
I think I even put together like a little show Bible, based on that idea, and just, broke it down by categories and chapters, and like who would be in each one to talk about what, and blah, 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 blah. But
nice. Yeah. That'd be cool.
You'd be a great resource to have for that. So
we'll send the contracts over later, Vince.
Okay.
That's right. Speaking of, budget and fundraising, Michael, otherwise known as Grizzly 10,000, wants to know, love hearing the fundraising part, but how do you estimate the amount needed to start with?
So you have to figure out, you're to be able to break down a script, and you got to be able to say, how many days is this going to take to shoot? And you break that down per location. So how many locations do I have? What time of day am I shooting? How many scenes can I film in one day? And usually it's about, our team, if the best case scenario is we got 5 pages that day. That's great. You know what I mean? That means we have time to work on those pages, and, you're getting a lot done. And you're not going to be too rushed. A lot of the times, independent films, you're looking at doing between 8 and 10 pages today. So you're moving a little bit of a faster pace, which means you have to have a good prep plan going forward. But in order to budget this, everything is money times day. How many people do you have? How much do they cost per person? How many days do you need them? And it's a lot of multiplication of doing that. There's also trying to figure out how much is your location going to cost you, and how many days you're going to need it, how much equipment are you going to need, how many days you're going to need it, your special effects, what does it cost to do the casting, what does it, basically you break down everything that you're going to film, not just like the fun camera stuff, but how many people do I have on set? How many mouths do I have to feed? Okay, let's find a catering service that can feed 20, 25 people for 3 days. How much is that going to cost? How many people are going to ask for, a gas stipend because they have to travel? All these different things that you got to work out over the course of over a film, and you got to really know each part of it, the pre-production phase, the production phase, and the post-production phase. And again, what each person does, what their daily rates are, and that's all broken down into a giant budget that you got to calculate out. And then you sit there and you look at it, say like you want to do a short, you calculate it all out. It comes to about $20,000. So now you have a $20,000 project, and that's to complete it front to back if nothing goes wrong. Right. But if you do your crowdfund, you know that you're going to pay 10%. So you're going to take $2,000 away right away, and you have $18,000. So now you're going to try and make up $2,000 in the post campaign. You want to keep raising money because maybe, this didn't work out, so you're going to have to change actors' flights, and all of a sudden you're paying those types of fees. So what you want to do is, that's called contingency. And when you raise additional funds and you build towards stretch goals, what you're also doing is building yourself into your budget contingency, where you can also do, you can do bigger things for your film. But if something is to happen, that money is there to patchwork the things that go wrong. You usually want to build in about 10 to 15% contingency to think about that. So you don't want to raise 22, 20, you want to raise around 22, 23. And that will give you a little bit of a buffer of contingency, but the more money you have, you want to go from there. You also got to think about, what your perk's going to cost you. For each perk, one thing I like to try and figure out is, okay, for this perk, when I put all the costs together, it costs me, X amount of dollars to build a Blu-ray. Okay, so if I have X amount of dollars to build that Blu-ray and I charge Y amount of dollars, how much money am I actually making per Blu-ray? What is my percentage? And I usually try and keep those percentages at a higher rate, because at the end of the day, crowdfunding is not about selling a widget. Okay, some things are, but when filmmaking is not, it's about making the film. And you can't spend all your money on the things that you're building for people. You need to make an extreme profit and remind people that they're supporting the film. And for supporting the film, they're getting the Blu-ray as a gift. Right. And that's why crowdfunding in technicality works its way through film, like through crowdfunding and film fan film rules, because that's what technically is represented. And it's a choice that you make as a backer to say, I believe in this group. There's no guarantee that anything's going to happen, because there's a disclaimer on the Kickstarter that will say that, or on the Indiegogo that will say that. It really is a risk for people. People are literally coming together and pooling their money to see something get done, and then they expect something in return for it. So you have to budget that out as well. And that has to work into your budget. So unlike a typical film budget, which is just the film and probably some distribution and some other things, you have to do a whole what's the word? Not marketing, but actual physical goods, like supply and demand goods budget, in order to say
an inventory budget.
An inventory budget. That's what I was looking for. Okay. You have to build an inventory budget into your film budget to understand how much you need to raise. So I would say that, and there's different strategies to do it, because if you have a budget that you think you're going to have a struggle to reach, sometimes it's better to say, okay, what I really need is 50 grand. But in the first 60 days, I'll be lucky if I get 20. Well, if you set your goal at 20 and you have something you can at least turn around for that, you can continue to raise money and slowly, incrementally get it up over time. Because we didn't just we started at $178, $74 or $84,000 with Never Hike Alone 2, and slowly over time we crept up to 200,000. We crept up to 250,000. And every time I got to one of those goals, I was like, wow, I never thought I'd get here. No way we're getting to the next one. A few months later, there we are at 300,000. And honestly, by the time we're done, we'll probably creep towards 350 and 400. And so if you have that mentality of keep pushing forward, get to your next payout. How can I be inventive with, the campaign and get more people to invest? A lot of the people who will invest in you in the campaign aren't necessarily new backers. A lot of the times your backers within your own world are so passionate about it. They want to see new stuff. They want to buy new things. They want to invest 2, 3, 4 times, because they want to see the project get to its potential. They want to see it reach its goal. And a lot of times it's a sense of pride for backers too. So you can definitely, motivate them to be a part of it, because at the end of the day, that's the cool thing about crowdfunding, is your name is in the film. So there's that aspect of it. Well, but first things first, getting back to the original question, which is, you got to get that budget figured out. You got to figure out everything that is going to cost you. And if you don't know much about film production, it's tough for you to do it. So that's why you got to get on set. You got to get close to either an AD, an assistant director, or a line producer.
A line producer. That's what I was going to ask you about. That's what a line producer normally does, right?
Exactly. And the line producer is the one who looks at the budget and says, how much money, what's your burn rate each day? And so you got to figure out your burn rate and how many days you got to shoot and how much it's going to be to build everything. And a lot of it's just, reaching out and getting estimates and, quotes, and it's a lot of legwork. And that's what the producer does. The producer is the person who goes out and finds these people. They produce them. Hey, we need to set a building on fire. Well, I'm going to go find the fire marshal that's going to help me find a building that I can set on fire, and work through all the codes that have to be done in order to set a fire on set. And, with this insurance policy and all those different things, that's what your producer is for. So you need people who can hunt those, like dogs who will hunt, who will go and find out all of the answers. So you don't get to set and say, oh yeah, Jakey G back there, our producer, said we can set this house on fire, and then they do it and they go like, well, you need a specific permit 4B, and you're like, well, no, I filled out 4A. I figured it didn't matter. It was cheaper. It was $500 cheaper. And they go, yeah, well, now you're getting fined $50,000 because you weren't supposed to do this. You know what I mean? Those are the types of.
Or you're delayed 2 weeks while you fill out that form again.
Or you're never going to finish this movie because we're pulling your insurance. You know what I mean? So, you gotta think about all these different things. And a lot of the times that's what I try to warn people is, yes, it's a lot of fun. You can go in your backyard and you can film stuff. But if you want to start taking it to a different level where you're starting to reach some of the higher quality of, kind of outputting of film, you're going to have to start learning, the proper way to do it and going through the right avenues. Like, another big word of advice is open an LLC. It's very, very easy. It's very cheap in a lot of states. Do not do a film on your own personal budget of your personal finances, because if anything goes wrong, you can get sued and you can lose all of your money. If you run your film through an LLC, you cannot personally be sued. Your business can, you know what I mean? But your business is just there to run the film. And it protects you and from the liability of what might happen on set. It's not that anything, anyone means for anything bad to happen, but in the circumstance that something does go wrong, you can protect yourself financially.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, Ziggy, jump in here.
All right. We touched on a lot of this.
Like I said, that's why I think a film school would be fascinating. So,
He's not going to let this go. Okay, Vincent, just so you know. It's going to be the theme of the night if you haven't figured it out yet. Okay. We had a bit over a couple of these things here. As your budget grew, as well as fan anticipation for subsequent films, did it ever become so overwhelming? Because you mentioned the delays and the rescheduling and all this stuff. Did it ever get so overwhelming you considered stepping down from either directing or maybe donning the mask as Jason and just picking one way and focusing,
I mean, I want to say that I did take a little bit of a step back from Jason in this. Brian does a lot of work in this movie. There was a couple days where I just said, listen, I'm not putting the costume on today. There's just too many shots. We got to move too fast. I can't be in there nudging around, trying to get everything like perfect with me in there. I need you in there to be perfect. And we just need to move. And so there was a little bit of that. Yeah. I mean, this became overwhelming. We were supposed to have this film done last year. I was supposed to go home for a few months, come back to LA, shoot the movie, go back home, finish the movie, release it last year, Telluride number 13, and then move on with my life. And so, everything got delayed. It strained my ability to get work. It strained my, relationships. It strained just sort of my mental health of trying to deal with the things that were going on. It changed sort of the trajectory of how we were going to go about, just the time frame of it, of, how are we going to fit this in and the anticipation and sort of sitting there waiting and, sitting on the money and just trying to protect it and trying to just take it 1 month at a time and plan the best we can. And there's just a certain point where you have to like walk away from it. But, it's just still sitting there looming in the distance, and it's very daunting, and I think with time goes by and more money gets raised, expectations go up, and, you have a job to do and you just want to do that job. But like I keep saying, like every single day, films will give you a reason to want to quit. I can't tell you how many times, I'm sitting in this room right now. There's a porch outside where the place where I'm staying right now. I can't tell you how many times I've sat there and wondered, am I going to make it through tomorrow? Like, is this film going to survive the weekend? Because we are on the cusp of not being able to do this film because of a specific issue that is not solved and there's no solution in sight. So how do we do it? And really, literally a day before we go out to shoot some of these big, long weekends that were, in a sense, in themselves, stressful to put together because there's so many moving pieces. There's people flying in from different states. There's, no one's staying in LA. We're staying up in the mountains. We got to get out of the city, and I have to coordinate all of these things, but we got to limit the amount of cars that are going up there. But at the same time, film might not even happen if we don't get X, Y, and Z solved. So let me solve that at the same time as well. And, it became sort of like, could I get through a single weekend without having to go to the point where I was standing on the edge, watching seeing in front of me, being like, the film's going to die if I go over this ledge right now. I got to keep going. And so you have to just sit there and push back and push through it all and push through the stress and get things done. And it took an insane amount of willpower to push through some of these weeks, things I couldn't. Can I tell you how awful it felt when last year, and it all started, it was just like, it just kept sliding. It was like, it started with Indiegogo messing up our payment and not getting us paid right away. So we sat with an extra 2 weeks without our funds. And while we were waiting for the funds to land, someone swooped in and got our location. And so that pushed us back. And that's ultimately what pushed us all the way. And that started like a cycle of things that pushed us all the way back into the spring of 2023 this year. As I'm preparing for spring of 2023, riding high in confidence, the state of emergency in California that no one saw coming because we haven't gotten a decent snowfall in the last decade. All of a sudden we get snow out the wazoo. And this 2 week, this plan was so etched in stone, just how it would work and how we would move and how we would transfer people from one place to the next and how people were going to get to everything was figured out. We were just waiting for it to start. Blew up in our face. All of that hard work. So all of the months and months and months of planning got blown up, and we had to do all of that same amount of work in about a third of the time to now set it up for different things and do all that. And now all of a sudden, all of these deals that we had, hey, you're going to be renting our cars for 2 weeks. Well, okay, for the whole spiel and blah, 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 it's going to be roughly this. Oh, now you're splitting it up to 2 separate weeks. Well, guess what? That rate you paid just for that 2 week you were going to do, you're going to pay that twice now. And so all the little things that came unhinged. And so it was a lot of seeing what the schedule broke in the rest of the film and discovering it basically every time we went back out to being like, oh my God, so we weren't with that now. So now this is going to cost that much, or I have to get an extra round of insurance, which is now going to cost me an extra $1,500 this weekend. But that compounded with this. Oh shit, we had to keep raising money. And it became this thing where I'm sure everybody was looking at the campaign being like, oh man, these guys are just swimming in money like Scrooge McDuck. And really we were like, the money is burning. We need more of it. Keep piling it on, keep throwing it in the fire. It needs more money. And it just the film was just eating money. And
that's what's hard to explain to just the common film goer though, the cost of making a movie.
Yeah. And especially when you're doing one that's remote, we filmed in 8-9 different locations, the mountains of Big Bear and Angeles Oaks. We were out in Lake Arrowhead in an actual hospital. We were on a lake in Carson, Washington. We were at a sound stage of a hospital soundstage in Anaheim. We took the fans' money and we invested it in the places that we thought that if we go there with our film crew, we can make it look like a movie. And we will get out of it what everyone expects, which is a cinematic, high budget looking product that tells a good story. And so we put our actors in great sets, and we had a great production design team, Rachel Leggett, Linda Rice, Danielle Vornkall, all contributed in different ways. But, Rachel was our main production designer at the end who did most of the work. She did an absolutely fantastic job. She had a great team under her, Taylor Franco, who came in on as a volunteer. I don't know if anyone follows us on Instagram or follows her. It's like TCR Customs, but she does these shoes. She did shoes for Horror Stevie. And that's how I met her. She was a fan of Never Hike Alone. She showed us some shoes that she made inspired by the film. And she came out and painted every sign you see in the film. She's a fantastic artist. And so it was just someone we discovered through the love of it. But yeah, it's people don't understand that I don't know. I think people do and don't, but I think when people walk away, they're going to walk away from Never Hike Alone 2 going, yeah, I can see where the money went. It was spent on this film. Okay. I see where it's going. And gotcha. And those things, and that costs money and you have to know how to spend it. It's easy to spend money on things that are trivial. And so you really have to sort of keep yourself from doing that and try and find as many deals as possible. But at the same time, when you have the ability to spend a little bit of money and get what you need, you need to know how to use that stuff and not waste the investment.
I got you. Well,
speaking of, say real quick, just if you haven't seen the making of Never Hike Alone, you'll catch a glimpse of what hell these guys went through making that one. So the dedication's there. So if you're unsure and just thinking, no way that it's like this, watch that and you'll have a different opinion on what these guys are doing to give us this.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, speaking of overwhelming, the initial thought of just crafting a well-produced Friday the 13th fan film had to be a daunting premise in and of itself, especially due to the love of the franchise from most of its fans. Now, even though Never Hike Alone, the series is among the best of the best and could even stand with some of the later canon entries, if I may be so bold.
You may.
Horror fans are a brutal bunch. What has some of the criticism been like for you personally? And as a filmmaker, how do you find the focus to stay on the final product and your artistic vision, but yet remove yourself from the constant negativity that floods so much of social media and reviews?
Honestly, nobody could keep up with my own brain, so they can try. I'm the biggest critic. I see things way before people do. And I think that what hurts me is like, I notice things and then it's when somebody else notices it and I go, fuck, I didn't get it. I didn't get that thing. You know what I mean? Like I knew it and along the way I couldn't figure it out. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's what it is. It's just like you make mistakes, that happens. But a lot of the things like have become so trivial, like they become the same. Like people complain about the same thing, whether it be the footsteps, whether it be, the running time of snow or, all these different things. And what I have to keep reminding myself is they haven't seen the complete picture yet. They've just seen pieces. And, obviously like the footsteps was definitely purposeful for many reasons, but also was unintended in the sense that the way it would translate to YouTube and smaller speakers and things like that. And we fixed it. You know what I mean? I think that one thing is there was like a lot of the times you just have to be open to criticism. You have to look behind the criticism and try to see what is motivating somebody to want to say this. And obviously when you say your footsteps are too loud, it's pretty fucking easy to find what they're talking about. But when you watch the next film and you see that like, oh wow, the footsteps even out, we listen, it helps us become better filmmakers. I think when you look at, when you see negativity, you have to learn from it. And I see a lot of filmmakers out there who just sit there and delete negative comments. And I hope that while they're deleting the negative comments, if they're trying to like just protect the feelings of their cast and crew, that they look at that and they see that like that's happening for a reason. And you got to really be honest with yourself and say, okay, what can I do better next time? And I think that that's all it really comes down to. I mean, like I said, like my goal is to make Friday the 13th fans happy. So when someone's not happy, that upsets me, but I'm not going to apologize when fans don't pay attention, they miss things, or they're wildly wrong about theories, or you can just tell they wanted something else and that wasn't what you were offering. A lot like when so many people were like, I can't believe that this was only so long and yada, yada, yada. When you go back to the Indiegogo campaign and it says it's a 22-minute short and it says it in the description and it's part 1 of 4 and we're shooting in the snow and this is where all the money's going and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, people just don't pay attention. And so like, if they don't have enough energy to pay attention to the things that they're complaining about as like the answers are already right in front of them, then I'm not going to pay attention to that stuff. And then there's people out there who just hate fan films. It doesn't matter. They just want to talk trash and say they suck. And they just want the real thing. And so I get them too. It's like, yeah, I get it. Well, just go away because plenty of people like it.
And that's all we got.
Yeah. And it's all we got. I mean, it won't be for long. And I think that the real test of time will be, after a few movies come out, maybe in a couple of years, or the TV series is going into season 4 or 5, that if someone's like, man, this series went off whack, you know what? I just want to go back to the basics and put on the original Never Hike Alone. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe we can be that for somebody one day, but I don't know. It's just, you can't make everyone happy, but I think that people have just enjoyed the ride that our team has put fans on. And so they know, I think, we can't be perfect. We're not, no film is perfect, even with all the money in the world. But I think that people, even when, when I feel like we're not even at our best, that people are still like, well, I'd rather have this than nothing at all. So I don't know. I think fans are pretty forgiving when it comes to the stuff that we do.
Well, speaking of that and staying on that thought, for the last 14 years or so, Friday the 13th fans have only had fan films to keep feeding their need for more, Jason. And Womp Stomp Films was one of many to answer the call. Now that the lawsuit has been seemingly resolved, hopefully, we have a new prequel series in pre-production from A24 and Brian Fuller. I think you mentioned, you may have been alluding to him earlier in one of your comments. even though that was stalled because of the WGA and SAG strikes, Sean Cunningham has even teased the development of 2 new video games and possibly a new movie for 2024. Where do you see the future of Friday the 13th heading in major media?
I mean, where's it going? I don't know, because I really haven't heard a proper answer that's giving me any confidence to say that they're going to get everything figured out and we're going to see it. I hear a lot of talk, but talk is cheap. I know that the Peacock series is coming. If that has success, it will motivate people to do things. I know Blumhouse has been talking about Friday the 13th lately. I think that if the opportunity ever came up, that you will see a bidding war like you've never seen before for Friday the 13th. And then expectations are going to shoot through the roof. And, you know, it's just going to, I don't know. I hope it doesn't get chewed up and spit out by the studio system in the same way that sort of Halloween did and some of these other franchises do, in a way where they try to become more than what they are. Or even just falling back to like simple basics. There's somewhere in between that, like a good, like I thought Prey did. Like if Friday the 13th can hit the level of like a Prey, which has never Hecklone qualities to it, if you think about it, you know, the whole aspect of it. I think that you know what? Here's what I think they should do. They should hire me. And they should let me make a big budget version of Never Hike Alone for Friday the 13th, and I should do this series on a professional level and just blow it out of the water and let it go from there. There's definitely ways that I could change the story and make it unique for fans who could watch it for free on, you know, YouTube, the original version. But I think we could do something that could be really special. I think they need to do something like that. I don't know if they will do that. I have a feeling that they're going to fall right into the old traps. Hopefully they can fight their way out of it. But if they're smart, they're going to do something unique. And they're gonna make it engaging. And hopefully that they will look at what we've done here and see that, okay, like you have a million fan films out here doing the same exact thing that the franchise did, but they're not really catching fire. But you have these series of films that are way different than the franchise ever did anything with, but some reason they're resonating with fans the most, because that's who Friday the 13th fans have grown into. And so they need to make films for the new audience, and not the audience that existed back in the 1980s that really kind of is not going to be there for the types of budgets that they're going to give these films. They need to appeal to,
like you said, there's got to be a happy medium somewhere.
Yeah.
It's got to be a happy medium. You got to give fans what they want, but you also have to keep them guessing in a good way. Okay. Is the way to do it.
But damn, see, you're saying there a legacy sequel is not a realistic possibility under that theory, and that's what I want. I'm an old fan from the.
But that's what Never Hike Alone 2 is. Never Hike Alone 2 is your legacy series. You're never going to see the first of all the alumni. I mean, only so many of them can come back to even build anything, and you're not going to see when you start getting into the world of those rights, trying to put those films together. I've heard nothing but horror stories about it's like impossible to tie it all the pieces together. Nobody wants to spend the money to do it. I also think that from a studio level, Friday the 13th has fallen so far from its own franchise. Like, what is the franchise anymore? Where does it really connect? I mean, we're like, you talk to 30 different Friday the 13th fans. They're going to give you 30 different answers about where they think, I stopped being good after final chapter, so that's where I stopped believing. Oh no, I love part 6. No, I love part 8. I love Jason Goes to Hell. Fuck you. No, it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's you can't get a straight answer out of it. What Friday the 13th needs a hard reset by someone who understands the fans and understands how to build that story and build it with an arc that will pay off over a series of films, and not just focus on like, how do we make the next one and make more money? Because that's how they used to make them, and they got away with doing it, and they did it. It worked in the 80s very well, but that's not the market anymore. And the competition is much deadlier and smarter. And what's going to win the day in the future are going to be, smart horror films that subvert expectation and catch fans by surprise. Like, you can do all the super gory stuff that you want and have an uber slasher or whatever you want to do, but at the end of the day, the films that are going to make the most money are the smart horror films that can go out and get that they can appease the original fans of the series, but they can also get that somebody who would never give Friday the 13th a chance, and all of a sudden they're walking in and walk out impressed by a Friday the 13th. I think that should be the goal, is to get out there and do something a little bit more with the franchise, because that's what we did with Never Hike Alone. That was the goal, and it worked. So at the studio level, it would be twice as successful, if not a million times more successful, because of the marketing power that they'll have.
Mm-hmm. BK, you just read my mind. Like, for example, what are some smart horror films that have come out in the last 5 years that you enjoyed?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it was in the last 5, but I mean, starting with like Upgrade was one that was really smart. I thought Talk to Me was really smart. I thought, what else came along in the last few years that's just been like sharp?
Well, there's a lot of buzz ones like Smile, and what was the one with the big tunnels under the house there in Detroit? And
Barbarian. Yeah, Barbarian was a lot of fun. Trying to think, there was something. I mean, Prey was, I would say, the thing that stands out the most in the last few years, that I felt like I was just watching somebody weave a story that was well thought out and thought ahead. It felt
connected
like,
still. And
connected still, and paid, and for like Predator nerds like me, I was like, oh, cool, new technology, like the way it moves, the way it does stuff, the way it looks, like so interesting. Expanded that stuff there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've sort of been in a hole. I've just been making my movie, so I really haven't been watching too much too often. I don't like really get out there and sort of like slam bunch of, I don't know. I don't like to watch a ton of films when I'm making a film, unless I want to watch something specific. But now that I'm going out in the festival circuit, like I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of the stuff the Telluride Horror Show has coming out. I'm looking for like new and interesting things, and just seeing where the world, where the world of horror is going. But yeah, I mean, I see it going in two different directions. There's like the A24 elevated stuff, which is cool if you don't get too pretentious. And then it's like, there's getting like really sloppy and nasty with some of the stuff that's coming out. So there's that sort of genre of it. And I don't know, I want to see the return of like the Return of the Living Dead. Yeah. I want like the fun event style horror film that's still made with a budget that entertains fans and has kind of like all the, just all the ingredients of a great film. It just happens to be set in a horror world, which is even more funny, like Cabin in the Woods. You know what I mean? Like Cabin in the Woods, I would say, is your modern day Return of the Living Dead. So if I was going to do a horror comedy, it would be something in that realm where it's smart, it's witty, it's meta. What was the film with the bride? Technically that could have been
Ready or Not.
Ready or Not. I thought that was really smart. Technically that's a horror film.
Yeah,
sure.
So definitely stuff like that. But I mean, the stuff I have on my slate, there's a mix of horror comedy, there's serious horror, and then there's some like really emotional, deep stuff. And so it really spans the spectrum of everything. I think I would want to make, I don't know, my spectrum of the stories I want to tell like is a wide variety. So I think whatever they want to make first is the one I want to make, because I'm passionate about them all.
All right. I think this is one of the last things I wanted to ask about fan films, but they've been rampant in recent years, touching on Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, one that you helped out on, of course, Dylan's New Nightmare, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas, My Bloody Valentine, and so many more. Is the golden era of the fan film over?
No, I mean, I feel like there's other fan films that are out there to be explored. I think that Cecil did something really sweet with Nightmare on Elm Street and showed that high quality fan film for that can be done, and not just as, which I've seen, like where I've seen people really kind of screwed around it, and which was smart, was, Human Freddy Krueger. Confessions of Fred Krueger, which is, is a big one. Paul, is it Delaney? Is that the name of the actor who does like the Freddy makeup? But they just did the Last Dream of Detective Cole. Paul Dini or something like that. I always forget. I'm bad with names, so if you're watching and you hear this, don't take offense. I'm really bad. But anyway, those are very smart ways to like put Fred, do long-term form, because who can afford going out and building the prosthetics and applying it and doing all those things and getting an actor who can fill that, makeup and do it right. But I think now people are going to want to try. And I think it's going to be really interesting. Like, Cecil did a very smart thing. He put himself in the Wes Craven's New Nightmare world, which really lets him sort of play there, uninterrupted. I remember when Dominic Smith released the Return to Elm Street trailers in 2017, around the same time that Never Hike Alone came out. So I'm hoping that people take a bigger swing at Freddy, because that's definitely one that needs a kick in the butt. It's another franchise that's been left to the wayside since 2011.
McCrae killed that, man.
Yeah, and McCrae, and Dave did great on all those things. So I think you got a whole nother thing for fans to look forward to and glom onto with that. Halloween fan films have been done to death, but I'd love to see some good Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or even some, to see what people do. But I think honestly, the big rise in the next few years is all of these fan filmmakers and all these people are going to start making original projects, and they're coming out with their original ideas. And it's because of the fan films that we've been able to polish our skills and go out there and now do that. And you're basically, for everybody out there who hates the studio system, circumvent the studio system and support us directly. We're going to build, films based on the taste of our fans, on our taste. And if you like what we do already, we just want to turn that into other different genres. And we're looking forward to doing that. I'm definitely excited for the potential of that, but I don't think fan films ever die. It's just, I think they're just going to get, as long as there's passion for fan bases, people are going to want to dress up. They want to do cosplay. They're going to want to take photography, and then they're going to want to do videography. And so, it's all just going to keep leading back to that.
Right.
I got Seth from the Horse Syndicate. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking of fan film, ideas, S. Michael wants to see a Basket Case fan film series.
Nice. I'd be down for that. And then Seth from the Horror Syndicate stopping in. He's asking if you have any interest in doing a werewolf film. He's a huge werewolf guy.
Seth?
Seth. And he says you could do a rad one, man.
Of course he would ask if he would do a werewolf film.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but one of the things, like the project that I'm writing, like the next one I'm writing myself, is actually a werewolf film. And it's not a big like werewolf hunting, like Van Helsing, like big crazy. It's like a very much like a, sorry to say this, but it'd be something I'd probably pitch to an A24. I'm like, it's a very emotional.
I'm okay with that.
Dude.
Like, I don't know. It's just something that I don't want to give too much away, but it's something I'm really passionate about. I've been putting this project sort of together in my head for the last year and a half while Never Hike Alone has been moving. And I've just been thinking about this project. We have a good outline for it. I penned it out with a few other friends of mine, the outline, but I think I'm going to tackle the script this year after I get to a few other things. But there's a werewolf project that is high on my list of, I want to pitch it. I want to make it. I feel like I have something to say with it. So I'm really excited about it.
Fucking sweet. That's just what he wanted to hear.
Yeah, you just made Seth jizz all over his laptop.
He did.
Yeah, I mean, I was obviously a big fan of American Werewolf in London when I was growing up, and other werewolf films as well. But I think that there was some other stuff I've seen recently too that was very interesting, and it all sort of made sense to me finally. And so I'm just sort of like chomping at the bit to get to it.
Nice.
Please tell me it's called My Sister is a Werewolf.
No.
Okay, damn it. That was a little inside joke for Seth too, I think. So,
you got the whole damn enchilada podcast too. They're asking, you're a Godzilla fan. So
yes.
What about doing a Godzilla fan film?
I get sued so fast. Toho hates that. Plus, trust me, there's nothing more I would love to do than an excuse to have fans give me a ton of money to build me a Godzilla suit that I could wear around. That would be the only reason I make it. I'd be like, just as long as I get to walk away with a Godzilla suit, like that's all I care about. Because the movie could be shit. Like as long as I get this thing for the rest of my life. No, I want to work on the Japanese Godzilla. I'm looking forward to -1. That looks amazing. For some reason, Godzilla versus Kong X, Kingdom of whatever, it looks like a sci-fi film at this point.
What are they doing?
I don't know.
What are they doing?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. They're throwing money at a problem that doesn't. Yeah, they're throwing money at a problem that doesn't need to be solved anymore.
I think the last one was fine. You should just move on now. Just move on. It was fine.
Ancient Kingdom. We'll see. Hollow Earth. Let's go. Let's do it.
All right.
No, I'm excited about too. What's up?
All right. Debuting on Friday the 13th, Never Hike Alone 2 picks up right where Never Hike Alone leaves off, featuring a fight between Jason and Tommy Jarvis, played by Tom Matthews, outside the ambulance. We got a little bit of that nugget of information from Tom last week. So what else can you tell us about this final installment of your film series?
I mean, it's a good thing you brought up Godzilla, because like I keep telling people, this is like a kaiju film. It's Godzilla versus King Kong, but it's Jarvis versus Jason, and it's really every single act bleeds up to big fights between those two. Some other people get into the mix. It's like, all monsters attack. You know what I mean? Everybody's out there getting a piece. Everyone's got their scene.
Rodan!
So, there's a lot of characters to tell their stories, but everybody who has been following this journey and has been waiting for the answers are finally coming this Friday. And, one at a time, the film kind of plucks different things off that I think that Friday the 13th fans have been waiting to hear from the characters from a long time, and just sort of the logic and like how it could all come together. And then, I don't know, I hope that sneakily fans have an emotional experience watching this film, that things touch them, that the characters sort of like, that they feel what the characters are going through. That they understand what's going on in the context of what it means for Friday the 13th, what it means for Tommy, what it means for Jason. And then they, obviously have fun. But yeah, I mean, the film, it picks up where Never Hike Alone 2 lets off, but there's a little bit of overlap. So I think, just a heads up, the beginning of the movie, you may be confused for a little bit a minute, and then it will all make sense, which I think is fun. And actually, one of the people who worked on the film, who's like a big fan of the film himself, he came on to do some second unit photography for us and sort of watched the first version. So he watched like an earlier cut of the film, so he could see what we were trying to fill in the gaps of. And he was like, oh man, like, he's like, I am also a fan of this when I work on this. So it's cool to see that like you wove it in this way, because I didn't see it coming. And then all of a sudden it snapped into place. And I was like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, so there's some cool, like, interesting writing and time passage. And then, once the film, I mean, I think that once you get to the end of Act 1, it really sort of like takes off from there. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of blood. The kill scenes are fun, really gory. And we have some really cool stuff that you're going to be excited about. And we put some people in situations that should be pretty funny. And I think people are going to think it's pretty fun.
This is billed as Jarvis versus Jason one last time, but is it really? Can you officially say, after this, you're done with the Friday the 13th fan films or fan films in general?
You're going to have to watch the film and find out. You have to watch the film and find out. Same thing for I think I just want to throw in real quick, as a reminder, there was a raffle for the Jarvis versus Jason raffle for somebody who's going to become an EP. So the person you see listed under Tom at the beginning of the movie under executive producers, they won Tom's shotgun. They are the they are an executive producer on the movie. So they're going to find out on Friday the 13th, which I think is really cool. Again, something that is going to, make some fans' day, and they're going to walk away with a really cool prize. In fact, I just wrapped up the shotgun. I'm getting ready to ship it now. And it's going to be a surprise.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Ziggy, question 13, maybe?
Okay.
How ironic.
I must have numbered these differently, so I'll go to the next one.
Well, it's, the one right after.
You skipped the level, just like a hotel.
Yeah, it's crazy. I actually had something I wanted to say before, it's just out of these questions. It's just something that came to mind. Recently, the sets where you shot Never Hike Alone 2 were taken out by a landslide.
Haven't been confirmed yet, but it's my worry. There was a major landslide up in Angeles Oaks that took out the highway to the camp. So my concern is if I think it's the bridge that I think got knocked out, that one is really near the camp, which means that mud had to come from where the camp is sitting. So I want to make sure that it's still there. I'm hoping to do that before I leave LA on this week.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I mean, I just kind of tied into Crank's last question, but what were some of the specific challenges faced while filming Never Hike Alone 2? I mean, the original began as a 3-part series of short films. What inevitably led to you changing that into making it one massive project? And did that add more problems or help it in getting it finished sooner?
I mean, it definitely helped getting it finished sooner because we didn't have to do multiple campaigns in order to get it done. It came together as one project because we were surprised by the amount of backing that we got for the Never Hike in the Snow project. It showed us that we had the ability to raise even more if we needed to do it. Learn those lessons about not turning off the campaign and all those things like that. So I think that it was a combination of time going by, fans wanted to see the ending. We've been waiting to pick it up for Never Hike in the Snow for a long time. COVID handcuffed us for 2 years. And, with the film, the way the film needed to be shot, like breaking it up into different pieces would have just cost way more money. So being able to raise it all once and shoot it all once and tell it all at once, it allows me to finish what I started, put it up on Friday, and then say I'm done. I don't have to go back for another one. I don't have to do 2 more years of this. I don't have to, keep going in and out of this cycle. It's just one fell swoop for me, so I can focus on things moving forward. But at the same time, it felt good. It felt good that we had the type of fan base that can come in and support a feature film and say, no, we're going to put up the whole thing now. Like no more, 4-part series. Like we're going to take that. And originally the series came from this script as one singular script. I had to make a ton of changes. But there were, along the way, but essentially this is the original idea that I originally pitched to Tom and Vinny and everybody that got them on board was this movie. And we tried to pitch that to studios. And then it was only down the line that we realized that, well, if we're only raising $50,000 at a time, we're going to make this in piecemeal. And then when we raised 125, we said, okay, maybe there's enough fan base here to do this. And that's why we just went all for broke and did it. And, we were able to hit our goal, and and here we are today with a movie a year and a half later. But, at the same time, like I shouldn't be surprised. These things always take a while, but they're worth the effort, and that's all that counts.
Well, along with Tom Matthews, Never Hike Alone 2 also features the return of Vinny Guastafaro as Sheriff Rick Cologne.
Nice.
Now, I watched the Ghost Cut today.
I know. I'm ready.
I was kind of curious, what was the reason, and maybe even a little bit of the backstory to having Guastafero's character hiding evidence of Jason's crimes around Crystal Lake in the Never Hike in the Snow, and presumably in Never Hike Alone 2?
Well, let me see if I can get it without kind of spoiling anything. I think if anything, he's like the mayor in Jaws, because it's like, you say barracuda and say what? Mm-hmm. You say shark and you got a problem on your hands. You got a full pandemic. And so what he's trying to do, he's trying to not get people hysterical about Jason, because when you bring up the big bad wolf, people lose their minds. And, in the back of Rick's head, he's never seen Jason himself. Everything that happened has happened out of his purview. All of his friends died, and Tommy walked out of this whole situation a hero, and he hates Tommy, and he thinks that Tommy orchestrated the whole thing. So he's been over the years trying to figure out how Tommy is doing this, but he can never catch him in the act, just how Tommy can never find Jason in the act. So there's sort of like a balance of the story between those two elements. There's the fact that these two characters aren't working together. They actually can't solve the real crime. So why is, Rick covering up stuff and Never Hike in the Snow? Because he doesn't want people to show up the next day and see a bunch of blood everywhere and start talking about how Jason's running loose, because now he's got a Jason problem, and now he can't get reelected because he let, Jason out or something like that. And I think you'll see that subject approached in Never Hike Alone 2 about certain things. But as far as like what we have shown on TV, it's the fact that he wants to not get people into a panic. And in his sense, he has what he needs for the case that he's building, which you'll find out more about in Never Hike Alone 2.
Okay. Ziggy, you want to hit 15?
Yes, I do. Let's see here.
And guys, we will get to some of these extra comments and questions here in just a little bit. We're trying to hold on to some of those, so don't worry. We'll get.
Don't worry. Vince, what was it like working with these two actors from a fan favorite Friday the 13th film on your production? Was there any particular moment where you geeked out a little bit and just said, "Holy shit, man, I'm here with the OG"?
I definitely did that on Never Hike Alone 1, and then like getting to work with Vinny finally on Never Hike in the Snow. But after all this time, there's sort of like, I feel like I'm working with my peers. I feel like I'm working with my two friends who I get to see. I spent like 2-3 years in Vinny's acting class, studying him as he worked with his actors, and gotten to know Tom from different things that we've put together over the years, as far as, stuff for Never Hike Alone and just meeting up and planning for Never Hike Alone 2. So I think we came to this set, it was really, all that stuff was kind of gone. It wasn't about like, oh my God, it's my heroes and they're doing that. It was like, Tom, you got a job to do. I need you to do this. And this is how I want you to go through this scene. And it was really just having that, the respect from them, that they see me in that way, and how I see them as actors. And I think that everyone really put in a lot of extra preparation for this film. But I think for me, what I got more out of it was scenes where Vinny and Tom got to act together. The special moment for me was the fact that these two guys are actual friends. So them getting to spend the time and sort of stepping back in the moments in between and just seeing them sort of having a moment and a chance to, be with each other on set again and share a moment like that. I think it's the personal moments now that mean more to me than sort of like the, oh my God, I'm working with the pros. You know what I mean? It's like, for me, it's like getting to know them as people and knowing that, like, hey, we're doing something. This is something that's going to be a memory for all of us. And this is great. And I think if anything, I feed off of, say, turning to some of the volunteers who don't get that experience and seeing them really shine and bubble. And I think I'm creating that experience for, the future fan. I've had the opportunity to bring some people onto this project who were just volunteers, who were fans of the film, who were, backers in the campaign, who became full-time working assistants on the film. And they just had that sense of awe and wonder that I had when I first got started into this. And so it was a nice reminder of why I should do it and why I was doing it. And it sort of helped lift my spirits a lot to see them really excited about it when I was just sitting there like, oh my God, so much money's being spent right now. And I got to make sure I make it through this weekend. Okay, I gotta think of it. Okay. You know what I mean? Like the movie's just running through my head all the time where it's tough. So to look over and just see people enjoying themselves is really much it's a really welcome sight. And to know that, Tom and Vinny still have that effect on people it's really sweet. And to see them with the fans too, it's just amazing.
Well, if anybody had the balls to try this, it would be you. Was there any attempt made, to contact Jennifer Cook to reprise her role as Megan in a cameo, if anything?
I mean, we had no way to contact her. I asked Tom about it a bunch of times and he was just like, not happening, dude. Never going to happen. She hasn't returned my phone calls in years and yada, yada. And so it was just, I sort of gave up on that line a long time ago. It would have been a cool story. It would have been about, the original Never Hike Alone 2 story was all about Tom and Megan being separated. She wanted to leave Crystal Lake. He didn't. And they were living two separate lives with a daughter living in between them. And, she came out to visit her dad that weekend because she got into a fight with her mom and got caught up in the mix of everything. And when I found out that Jennifer couldn't do it, I started to pull the story threads apart and being like, well, I need a character to carry this and all those things. So essentially Tommy's daughter shifted around to different ideas and eventually landed on the Dr. Hill idea, which, in my head was like even better from this full standpoint of Never Hike Alone or Friday the 13th, because it was about a mother who lost a son. And so once I found that dynamic to weave into the story, like everything really kind of jumped off and leaped off from there. So it would have been nice to do Megan. It would have been nice to do the separated parents thing and really kind of tell that type of story. But if you don't have the actual thing, it wasn't worth trying to make it work.
So there was never like a fake Shemp or just a recast.
No, I didn't want to. No, I didn't want to go down that round. And then we were just
fake Shemp.
Fake Shemp is a Sam Raimi term.
Yeah. I just think it just wouldn't have satisfied fans in the same way. So we just decided to stick with
all right.
But Tom does wear a wedding ring in the film. He's worn it in both films. And so it's been sort of like an ode to be like, Megan was a part of his life. We just don't talk about her now. What happened to her?
Right.
So I'll let the fans figure it out.
Okay. Well, if you combine, by the numbers that I've tried to do this afternoon, if you combine all the iterations of Never Hike Alone, including the Ghost Cut, Never Hike in the Snow, etc., the series has amassed a very impressive 6 million plus views on YouTube. Do you have a more accurate number on that?
Yeah, I think it's the actual channel. I think is drifted towards 9 million with everything that's kind of going on. But those specific projects, yeah. And there's honestly, I actually looked at my copyright the other day. There are Spanish versions of Never Hike Alone and Russian versions of Never Hike Alone that almost have 1 million plays themselves. People have just ripped it and put it up. So it's like, whatever, I guess, do whatever you want. So it's fun to see it kind of grow out there and do that. But at the same time, it's not even the most popular band film out there. It's not even the most popular Friday the 13th. I see other Friday the 13th fan films with more plays. I just think it's the one that resonated and stuck with people the most. So no matter where the plays go or what ends up happening with that, it had the most cultural impact, and people recognize it. And so I think that's sort of where I stopped looking at the numbers a long time ago, because it just, when I started seeing the way that it resonated with people, I realized that was the true value in it.
Well, has any of that attention or that YouTube algorithm, has any of that translated to getting any studio's attention to even sit down and talk with you about a project of your own at all?
Yeah, no, I've done meetings, and I was very close on a project back in 2019, 2020. We were building a lot of momentum for it, and then COVID killed all those talks, and we had to start all the way from scratch. And then by the time we came out of it, I kind of turned to my manager and I was like, Never Hike Alone 2, I got to finish it. And I'm gonna, and so last year I was like, I'm gonna get it done this year. Don't worry about it. And March I raised the money. I got the money. All right, I'm gonna finish it in October, and then we got delayed a year. And so, this thing has been hanging like an albatross around my neck, sort of like when you have a story like this in you, it just sort of draws a certain energy away from your creativity, where like you're just focusing all your creativity wants to flow into it. And so everything else that I wanted to write, everything else that I wanted to develop sort of wasn't moving at the same pace. I couldn't put the same passion and attention into it because I had too many brain cells working on Never Hike to make that work. And now that it's sort of out of the way, it's that sort of space is going to reopen up in me. So I think that like all those opportunities that were there, all those people still, every time I talk to them or I bump into them or we say, hey, they're all looking for stuff. And that's why I stopped worrying about it. I was like, listen, they're still going to be there when I'm done. Or if they're not there, that someone else is going to be there. There are people who start their careers in their 60s, in this industry. And I'm just turning 40. I got, I've come this far in 6 years. Where am I going to be in another 5 years? Well, I'm starting in a pretty good place right now to start from. And I have way more stuff to pitch than I did 4 or 5 years ago when I started doing these rounds originally. When I first stepped out of the first Never Hike Alone, I had nothing to pitch. I had one idea that I had been working on for years that was a pipe dream because it was like a $250 million zombie Western that would have never been made by anybody, especially a first-time director. I was just writing out of my ass and coming up with the most ridiculous things I could think of. I wasn't thinking in the terms of real budgets. Doing this and working in the industry for a little bit longer, and time in between, I've written other projects. I've come across other projects. I've been attached to other projects, built script decks, do all those things. So now when I'm doing these meetings, I'm a much different beast than who I was when I walked into those meetings in 2018. I actually have projects I can pitch, pitch decks, people attached, ideas, understanding of saying, hey, look, I just raised $300,000 on Indiegogo to do, basically a $230,000 film, or $250,000 film, essentially, with everything that's going into the film. And it had this sort of impact, and it had no studio backing or it was all grassroots. It's all word of mouth. I can handle a production. I can drive the ship. So this is, if anything, has really, been a great, this is the bumper car I got to drive. I wasn't spending any, I technically spending other people's money, but from a studio's aspect, I wasn't spending their money. I was raising the money on myself and doing it. So for them to sort of entrust me with that sort of responsibility of going out with, say, a $500,000 budget or $1 million budget, I think that I'm in a much better stance to say, like, yeah, I'm qualified to do that. And I can, I'll deliver you a project on when you want the project, because we've done this before without your help. So with your help, it's going to make it even better. So I'm looking for that opportunity, and when it comes, I'm ready to jump at it.
Okay. Well, that leads me to,
There's some comments popping up here and there.
Thank you, Holly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Leads me to a fan question here. Tarek wants to know, from where would you want to get a few $1 million for a film? A streaming service who will retain distribution rights like Shudder, or a major studio with homogenization syndrome but big wide release?
Ooh. That's tricky.
Do I have to choose the two, or can I go with the independent financier who wants to take the film to market and sell distribution after the fact?
The hybrid.
I would love to do that. I think that that's the best way to go when you work with private investors who, we come up with a good game plan, we make that film, we get it into the festival circuit, and we sell it on the thing. I think, like, the talk to me avenue. I think that that's sort of where we want to go. We're going to find private investment, private equity. We're going to build a small team. We're going to build a project that we can take to market, and something that we can sell at AFI, or, take it to a Telluride Horror Show, take it to TIFF, take it to places where we could potentially see, a return on the investment and a turnaround for, of $800,000 to $1 million movie that can go out to the weekend box office and take home 15, 20 million. And something that will be talked about, that it eventually lands on streaming or whatever. I'm not going to worry about too much about where it goes after that, because, again, as a young filmmaker, I can't really I have no weight to throw around. You know what I mean? I'm not Zack Snyder. I'm not Steven Spielberg. I'm not like a pillar of the industry right now. Like I will take whatever opportunity comes. So if it's just going to stream on Shudder, that's not just streaming on Shudder. That's a great opportunity. You're putting your product out in front of people. They maintain the rights. That's great. Because you know what the difference is between all of those other things and now is the fact that for the time that I'll be on set, they'll pay me. And as a director, I won't make, I'm not going to be rich, but at least I'm going to be making some money from it. And I have an opportunity to showcase my skills. At a studio, that's a different beast because it's a matter of how much control am I really willing to give up just to take the ride for a bigger payday. And what type of studio am I getting involved with, and how much final creative say are they going to instill in the process towards the back end, and will that be worth it? And it's going to come down to whether or not I trust the executives to be smart executives. Are they going to give me good notes? Are they going to push me in the right direction? Or are they going to take my film to a test screening and get a 96% approval rating, but they're going to focus on the 4% of people who didn't like the one shot because one of those executives doesn't like the shot either. So they're going to use this as ammunition to try to get this shot changed. And it's just going to be a fight over that. So it depends. It's like you can work for the right people. And it's about trying to find the right people who are going to get the idea to just let your film live and die for what it's going to be versus trying to, what I think Hollywood makes the biggest issue with now, or the biggest mistake is that they're trying to guarantee winners. That's why they want to write with AI. They want to put in a formula. This is the money-making formula for a movie. Save the cat, enter. You know what I mean? And they want to be able to say this movie's going to make money every single time. And that's not how film works. Film is a gamble. The arts is a gamble. What studios forget is that their job is to be the best gamblers on the planet. But they actually have to gamble. They can't hedge every single one of their bets, or else they're never really going to come out ahead. They're just going to keep breaking even. They need to invest in some wild ideas. They need to invest in some safe stuff. They need to invest in some franchise stuff, but it needs to be spread out. And one of those projects, the one that hits, is going to pay for them all. That's the deal. The cheaper one is probably going to pay for them more than anything. And then, if you're going to make a $400 million blockbuster movie, you better be able to make sure that you can fill those seats.
Right.
And you got to go and look at the things that really speak to people. And honestly, it comes down to the passion of the filmmakers. It comes down to how passionate are people about telling this story, and how much do they really believe, or why is this movie being made? Who is this movie being made for? And, a lot of the times, from my experience in the industry, I've just seen people trying to make things because it's what they happen to own. They don't really have a vision for it. They don't really have much going for it. They just want to get something out there. It's what they're paid to make widgets. So they just can't help themselves. They got to make this other thing that, I bought up the rights to this book, or I bought up the rights to this series, and I did this and I did that. I want to turn it into a movie.
I'm looking at you, Pet Sematary Bloodlines.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, who was really like, was that deal made because, hey, you know what? There's this story about Pet Sematary that just needs to be told. Or, hey, we have Pet Sematary. Can we hire somebody to just keep this thing alive so we can keep it going? And it doesn't matter. It's just as long as we put something out, the contract remains, and we'll keep collecting on the original. We just need to put something out. You know what I mean?
Right. That's
the difference. Those are the conversations that happens in studios. They don't look at these. We were talking about this the other day with somebody. We were like, they look at these entities and their problems to them. What do we do with these Friday rights? Okay, I guess we'll make another one of these. And you know what I mean? And nobody really goes into it with that enthusiasm. And nobody wants to approve a budget. They want to take away as much as they can. Like what I was saying, like, everybody in Hollywood is built to say no. And you got to keep fighting your way through it. But it's when it lands in those places where people are like, Lord of the Rings became so good and so popular because it had both the investment from the studio going all in on it, and a filmmaker that was so all in on the material and knew the material and was passionate about the material, that those things collided and created like the best template scenario for a big budget sort of big studio picture like that. I think with what you're seeing with, and I think you may have had that for a while with Marvel, you're losing it. Because now they're going to lower and lower tier directors. Not saying anything, those directors aren't talented. They are. But as far as like what I'm saying in the totem pole about how much control and influence that they have versus, someone who's established and has a name brand, and, Quentin Tarantino is not going to come in and get pushed around by Kevin Feige. You know what I mean? But somebody who is coming out of the commercial land or the independent land and looking for a big payday, and all of a sudden, hey, Uncle Kev is signing on my check, so I guess this really is his movie. It just really starts to, I don't know, everything just starts to bleed together and starts to become uninteresting because there's only so many bag of tricks. There's only so many rabbits you can pull out of a hat with a lot of these things. So, that's why you need different minds coming up with different things. That's why Thor Ragnarok was so, I think, fresh for a lot of people, because Taika Waititi was a fresh voice and had enough power to put his own will into it because they were asking him to do something special. But you can't repeat. And then they tried to repeat the formula with Love and Thunder, and it didn't work. And so to an executive, so for an example, to an executive, they look like, okay, we're gonna do the same, like rinse and repeat with Taika Waititi. We come back, he does the same exact spiel, the same exact thing, but for whatever reason, the right pieces just aren't there and it doesn't work anymore. What's the difference? You put all the same pieces together just as last time, but it didn't make the same recipe. And that's why filmmaking and creative is so hard. Because the same thing doesn't necessarily always work twice, although it did work 12 times for Friday the 13th, but it waned after a while. And that's why it took something like Never Hike Alone to come along and do something different to really reinvigorate people to be like, no, there's something else here. There's more story to be told. So that's ultimately what you have to do with anything that you get involved with.
Right. Man, if Quentin Tarantino directed a Marvel movie, we'd finally get to see Black Widow's feet, though. That would be entertaining.
It would just be all the superheroes.
It would be Black Widow's feet, Captain Marvel's feet, all of them. But,
there we go.
All right. S. Michael wants to say first, hey Vincent, congratulations on finishing the series. Can't wait to see Never Hike Alone 2. Is there anything you wished you could have done with the series or Never Hike Alone 2 that you just couldn't pull off for whatever reason, time, budget, etc.?
I mean, we're going to go into that in our update tomorrow. There's a couple of things that we just, we couldn't really add because of time, and things that we wanted to do that if we had done it, we would have overspent and then not been in the right place to be in post-production or even, give post enough time to even put the things together. So there's a couple of things that we had to say goodbye to. Obviously there were things I had to say goodbye to in the script when we had to do it this way, fire elements. I wanted at one point Rick to be in a helicopter, which I thought would be cool. I was just throwing ideas out there at the beginning because I thought I was going to take this to the studio. But there were some big ideas for the original concept of the script. And, I had to whittle that all down. Obviously, by the time we got to stretch goals like Ghost of Crystal Lake, there's just no time to do that now. We can't add that into the film 2 weeks before it goes in, and we have to shift focus to home video campaigns and putting the money into that. So that's one thing we got to kind of let fans know is be like, listen, the prequel, it was a great idea and concept, but after going through this year and seeing the challenges it takes to actually get films done now in California in this current time frame, because gas goes up by $1 every week, it seems, along with everything else, that it's just not a feasible price to make that film for anymore. But there are ways that I'm going to fulfill fans with stuff. I'm a fan myself, and I don't want to disappoint people. So we're going to do different things. Like I'm going to turn the Ghost of Crystal Lake and the Pamela story that I've pitched and teased a few times over the years. I'm going to turn those into short stories. I'm going to have some of my friends who are talented illustrators do some illustrations and put stuff together for fans to look at and get the full in-depth stories, which I think will be kind of cool because fans have seen me do the film, but if they listen to some of the backstory that you can put into a novelization of something, even a short novelization, it's going to open up the world of Friday the 13th even more for people. And then who's to say down the line, these aren't the types of stories that inspire me to be and take these stories to the studios. And I feel like either one of them could be a studio film without upsetting the balance of any previous Friday the 13th. So I think that it could actually really be both films would be a very unique Friday the 13th experience, give fans exactly what they want. And answer series about the franchise too. So, there's opportunities. I think right now the best thing to do is just release Never Hike Alone 2, see what people have to say about it. And then see if it, nudges any traction forward to get these done in a bigger or better way, in a professional way. Because as far as fan film goes, it's too taxing and it takes away from, my ability to make a living, really. Right. I've been doing sacrifice basically a year off of work. Not to say I didn't work, but being able to go and get a full-time position where I could just commit to that and not say oh, I'm going to go take 3 months off to go make a fan film, is going to be a lot easier to do with not having to do that in interviews coming up. So maybe it would be nice to be like, hey, I'll actually be here. It'd be nice. Can I have a few weekends to go watch my movie? But other than that,
exactly.
Other than that, I'm here and I'm ready to make some money finally.
Well, Seth also probably saw my notes for the interview, because one of my last questions is, what is next for Womp Stomp Films? He wants to know what's next after Never Hike Alone. Got any original IP brewing?
A werewolf film.
I wanted. Well,
Yeah,
a
there's
werewolf
there's
film.
three or four original IP feature films that we have in the docket that that I'm attached to. There are 2 short films that I want to work on. One of them being EMF, which I pitched before, which was a co-write with Jeremy Brown and Mike Mead. Would star Tom Matthews. It's maybe a 20-minute short film that we would try to do, try to crowdfund it next year. Same thing with an animated film called Ghost Chicken, which we want to animate with the same people who are helping us out with Ghost in the Fog. And then we'd like to get Ghost in the Fog finally made next year as well, which is would be technically our final fan film project. But we're going to let Mako Animation run that one because we've already done the animatic. It's already ready to go. They just need to do the animation, but it's going to be expensive. So we want to raise some money for that as well. So we do have one more little fan project coming down the line. And the last thing we're going to do with Never Hike Alone is next year we're going to do the final cut, which is the super version of the Ghost Cut, which is everything cut together in one presentation and offer that to fans as one fell swoop, one goodbye. But it's one that I can leave with my editor. And, if I'm working at a job full time, I can come home on a Saturday and watch a cut, give notes, take time. We'll have till, I think there's a Friday the 13th in November next year, if I believe.
I'm not sure.
We'll look it up.
I believe it's November or September, one of the two. But either
way,
way,
get on that. See when the next Friday the 13th is.
I really do think it's November, but basically try to aim for that. And that would give us all year to work on it in our own leisure time, no pressure. And I have some ideas for that campaign as far as fans being able to sort of maybe add a little bit more in certain places. But that would be a weekend shoot versus having to take months and months off to do it. So there's other opportunities there, but my true focus is getting these pitch packets together, doing the pitch rounds and getting signed to something and, hopefully going on an adventure. I'd love to make a film overseas, either Europe, Canada. And that's not overseas, obviously, but I mean, in another country, I would love to do it. I'm just looking for any opportunity that comes my way.
Oh, see Rick over at the,
there you go.
Yep. Rick over at the Whole Damn Enchilada Pod says next September.
Yep. That makes sense.
So,
all right.
So Rick, or FaZe, you slacked off on that one. You let.
And Tarek says it just occurred to him that Crank already has his first 2 or 3 episodes of that film school idea filmed and ready to cut.
No, because this would the film school idea would be a whole lot more in depth even than we got into today. There would be some details put into that.
Yeah.
Vinny, are you interested in accepting any scripts or pitches from outside collaborators?
I have people who ask a lot. I just don't have time. I have 4 scripts that are, been sent to me by rep writers who my manager has contacted me with. So I owe them my time and attention.
Yes.
It's not that I'm not willing to, hear somebody's pitch if they want to pitch me at a convention or something like that. If they just want to hear the idea and they want some ideas. I have some helpful advice that I have kind of locked off to the side if people want to get into their own projects. But I had actually somebody coming at me the other day who was like, I have this brilliant idea that I wrote when I was a kid. And if you make this film, it's a guaranteed moneymaker. And so, well, it's a guaranteed moneymaker. Why don't you do it? So, I think it's it's one of those things where I think we just want to, you're just going to have to go on your own journey. You know what I mean? I'm not here. I'm here to do it, but I've already made some of those connections. So it's not that you're going to come up with something brilliant, show it to me, and then all of a sudden we're going to run off and become billionaires together. It's just not how it's going to work. What I'm trying to get people to do is if you got an idea and you're passionate about it, don't come to me and ask me how to tell you how to do it or do it for you. Go do it yourself. Go learn. What you will learn and what you will get back from going through the process yourself. If you really are passionate about this story, only you can tell it. You know what I mean? So you got to go and do it. And the projects that I've worked with and the thing, I found them. There's something that they didn't try to pitch me. They didn't try to sell me. I just was lured to them by something else naturally. And so if you have a project out there that I love and I reach out to you and I want to help out, then yeah, totally. Let's work together. But if you have to show up to my doorstep and ask me to read your script, I barely read people's scripts who are my friends. It takes me months to get to them. So it's tough for me to say oh yeah, I'm going to, my friend who sent me a script who needed, feedback last month who I'm behind on, but let me put everything aside so I can read your script. I don't know who you are, but thanks a lot. Not, you know, and I'm not trying to put anybody down, but that's the context of it. It's like, it's really tough for me to just, because if I did it for everybody, I'd never get any of my own work done.
Well, and that's part of the business.
Yeah.
You know, that a lot of just people outside of it don't really get. You know, they figure you have, you know, since you have the word producer next to your name, you have all the time in the world to read 10 scripts a night.
Yeah.
And you don't, you know.
Yeah, and when I read a script, I really have to get into it and really imagine it and kind of see it, piece it together. And my brain just doesn't have that for other people's projects at the end of the day, because I've spent all day doing it for the things I'm working on now.
Right. Well, I can go through and delete a couple of draft emails in my account that I had written for you, so that takes care of that.
I had this, but I just put this over here.
Yeah, just put that away. We'll talk to Adam next week.
Yeah.
Just selling everybody.
No, it's us.
Right.
Okay, so we're here, man. Never Hike Alone 2. When is it officially dropping? Give us the time and everything, because we got something we want to do.
He doesn't know yet.
We don't know yet.
We do. We're going to announce it.
hasn't.
We're going to announce it tomorrow for the trailer. It will be at night. Our screening at the Telluride Horror Show is 10:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We're obviously not going to make fans wait that long. I just want to I'm basically timing it at this roughly around the same time as the screening of the previous movie, so that way there's no overlap for people, and nobody's going to see anything on their phone or anything between. That way fans actually get it on Friday the 13th, and then the fans that are at Telluride, who I know are going to basically be blocking their ears, they'll do that, and then deletes email to Womp Stomp.
Exactly.
And so it'll be out Friday night. That's the best I can give everybody right now.
That's cool. We'll get the thing down, because we actually thinking in honor of Friday the 13th, why not just get on with everybody? Obviously, we won't show it on the channel, but do like a watch along. We could sit down and and whoever wants to join us, and we can all enjoy it together and just
we'll talk about it afterwards too, and then we're going to chat about things they love, things they hate, things they think I should have done. All the different things. But at the end of the day, I feel like, again, this is what fans should be doing. We should be getting together. We should be watching the new film. We should be getting to discuss it afterwards. And that's ultimately what we're trying to recreate with Never Hike Alone, is that we're recreating the sense of like the community aspect of, we're going to stand out there. We're delivering the best material we can. People are going to love it. People are going to hate it, but it gives fans something to talk about. It keeps the fandom alive at that point.
Right. Well, I would be remiss if I did not ask this question, because Seth brings up a very good point. Would you do a different Friday the 13th fan saga centered around Jenny? Maybe a parallel trilogy?
Maybe. I think that there's definitely, honestly, Jason Rising kind of has those elements if that chooses to go forward. Ginny is definitely a big part of that world. It's whether or not Amy Steele wants to come out of it. But I will say this. One of the versions of Friday the 13th that I've written as something to pitch studios definitely involves somebody who would fit Ginny's profile. Very similar sort of final girl-esque character who would be a part of one of the main films. In fact, she'd be in the first film. She plays one of the main characters. It just sort of reintroduced, just bring, like I said, like the best elements of Friday the 13th back in a very natural way, to see those types of characters we saw successful on screen again.
Nice. Well, man, first off, thank you for joining us. This has been great. I love talking film with you. I wish we would have had a chance if we were not running like chickens with our head cut off in Pasadena. I wish we would have had a chance to go and have a drink or something while we were out there with you, but
we'll be on the road we'll be on the road this summer with Never Hike and all that stuff.
Nice.
We are sure to cross paths.
Oh yeah, definitely. We'll definitely be some screenings, and just to remind people, Telluride Horror Show this Friday at the Sheridan Opera House, Ottumwa, Iowa, at Halloween-a-Palooza.
That's what it was.
Never Hike Alone. Tom Matthews is going to be there for the Ghost Cut on Friday and Never Hike Alone 2 on Saturday. Track Cinema in Auburn, New York, 13 Gallows Lane sponsored event for Friday the 13th. So they're going to have something going. And then there's going to be events all over the country. There's one in Salinas, Kansas on the 26th, the Friday the 13th marathon that Never Hike Alone 2 will be a part of. Cinema Salem in Salem, Massachusetts is going to be playing the Ghost Cut all month long.
Wow.
And then on the 28th, they're going to play it back to back with Freddy versus Jason. Ari Lehman and Doug Tate will be there. I heard Ken Krisner was going to be there, but he may have dropped out. But yeah, so it's definitely popping up. I'm going to work on some more New England screenings. I'm working with PVD Horror to set something up. And then I'm obviously going to be contacting a ton of film festivals around the country and taking it through the Midwest, Pacific Northwest, and working with all my friends to make sure we get proper screenings all over the country and give people an opportunity. And if there's any fans overseas that want us to come to them, please help us set up at some film festivals overseas. Would love to go over and see this hit with some foreign audiences, maybe even South America too. We're huge in Brazil. They love it.
Yeah. Well, maybe even talked with Adam, and whenever he starts doing his documentary tour, you can
luggage.
Well, do a double feature,
Honestly, yeah, we should. Yeah, it'd be fun. And then we can get Deb too. We can do 13 Fanboy. It can be like a whole thing.
Triple feature.
There you go.
Oh, man.
But man, thanks again for coming on. Always a pleasure talking to you. Best of luck on Friday, and wish we could join you in Colorado, but
we don't have that kind of scratch, man. Are you kidding me?
I know it is a pricey trip. I'm driving there, so I'm saving money on a flight at least.
Dude, we talked about it and we were just like, is there any way we can sleep in the car?
Yeah, man.
We'll rent a pass van
and save $1,300 for the weekend?
A night?
Yeah. Or a night? Yeah. But best of luck, man. We'll go ahead and let you go and we'll wrap up the show, but we'll be definitely talking, and we'll send some comments on Friday.
Well, it's good seeing you guys. Thanks for promoting the film. Yeah, and just make sure everyone tunes in on Friday. And then after you're done, if you haven't pre-ordered a Blu-ray, they will be available on Indiegogo. Indiegogo will be open through the end of the year, and keep an eye out for lots of new stuff releasing next week.
Yep. And Faze just hit the Indiegogo again.
There it is.
So
boom. Thank you, everybody.
You
I'll see you guys on the next one. Happy Friday the 13th.
Yes.
See you, Vinny.
See you, Vinny. Woo!
There it is, man. Never Hike Alone 2. We've said it. I've said it anyway. Like I thought Never Hike Alone is the number one if we had to rank all of the Friday fan films. So yeah, we're fucking excited to see this conclude, and with all the hype, Tom Matthews. It's like it'd be easier removing a tooth if you had no dental training than getting any answers out of this fucking guy, man, for anything. They're like, oh yeah, one answers. It's the only guy I know you can ask a question that doesn't have a yes or no response, and he'll still give you the yes or no response somehow. It's crazy.
I love Tom though, because
he's the best.
I think we just needed to. We had him a little lubricated in Albuquerque, so we talked a little bit more.
Yeah, right. Those VIP drinks were stiff.
Yeah, I just think he was. I think he was sober last Monday.
Oh man, and yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I'm sorry I missed that one too. I really was looking forward to that one for fucking years, honestly. He's been a guy on the list that I've wanted to talk to.
Oh yeah.
I will wait.
Yep. A bunch of people. Oh,
there you go. All right,
get
folks.
rid of that.
Yep. Is that what you were talking about earlier, Faze? With that, something else popped up? Something else? Okay, we'll get on to that afterwards. We'll talk
about that later.
I tried to scroll, but I didn't see nothing.
No, we'll talk about that later.
I can imagine.
BK saying, truly a great interview. I love doing these interviews, man. Seth says, thanks, guys.
He'll give you everything he's got to, though. I mean, he'll tell you whatever he knows to help.
Oh, yeah. S. Michael says, agreed. Vinny's on fire. You can tell by his responses to questions that he's a strong thinker, is bursting with passion, and is a ridiculously hard worker. Yeah. Dude,
I like to call
this guy,
the fifth gear, as I like to say, and he's always in it, So
if this guy doesn't hit something, and God damn it, Seth, if this guy doesn't hit something in a major way in the next 5 years, 10 years, I'll be shocked. I mean, because like he was talking about, I liked his answer when he was talking about, I'll take the streamer. Based on Tarek's question earlier.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'll take the thing on Shudder, because I was thinking, hey, what was it, 2018, 2019? Rob Savage had Host that got put on Shudder. And what did he do this year? He directed The Boogeyman. You know, a Stephen King property. So
and did a good job.
In 4 or 5 years, he went from Shudder to mainstream theatrical release. So not bad, in my opinion.
It's just not. It's good to have. I enjoy seeing the up and coming crop of new talent that still have an interest in horror. I mean, I think that it bodes well for all of us that guys like this exist and want to create like this, and at all cost it looks, and the shit's quality. So we got a nice smattering of folks rising up the ranks, and I'm grateful for that, man. And Vinny's definitely one of them. So
hold on, what was this? Whole damn enchilada pod says, "You getting porn bots?" Yes, we are, sir.
Yeah, you know what? You know you've made it when the porn bots invade your live broadcast. So here we are, folks. Here we are.
And he says, "I think someday, real soon, we're going to be telling people that we are friends with big-time Hollywood director Vincent DiSanti." I hope so. I hope that happens to a lot of our friends that make fan films and people that have come on our show. You know, I really do. I'm anxious to see what else you guys have got. You know,
well, I mean, just Savage himself. I mean, dude, this guy's a young guy and he's got a vision here, man, and it looks pretty widespread. Oh, geez.
Yeah. Anything else that we need to hit here?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, fine.
Porn bots. Okay.
You want to read that one, Ziggy?
Is that why you were saying that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Seth, just when I think I've forgotten all about that fucking piece of shit, and then here you come and remind us in the pain. It's like it's an open wound again. No, we will not be doing a resort fan film. You know why? Because the fucking thing would be better than the actual thing that's out there called the resort. Okay? Ours is going to be called the tourist stop or the motel, and it would be better than what that was. And now I'm all pissed off when we're going off the air. All right. I'm fine.
FaZe, can you put Seth in timeout, please? No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Speaking of, let's bring FaZe back in here for a minute.
Bring him in here.
Woo! FaZe.
Well done.
We didn't keep you too busy on that one, I don't think so.
No, he was starring questions all over
porn
the place.
bots.
And actually, and the porn bots, he was snuffing out porn bots left and right. And excellent.
First time I've ever had to do that.
Well,
I've seen it, but we've done it. We've done it.
We normally see them
you guys
and immediately bop them out, but
what the fuck?
they don't pop up very often anymore. Like
they just come in and go, "Hey, can you make it out there as possible?" Fuckers.
Did he say he was doing a Howling fan film?
Fuck.
Oh, man.
Snuff porn.
Anyway.
Yeah, we need to snuff the porn fucking peddlers in this motherfucker, man. God.
That's right.
No kidding.
FaZe, you excited for what Vincent has after Never Hike Alone 2? All right, that's great.
No, I legitimately would have liked to hear what he had to say, but I guess that's just not how we roll here, folks. No.
We can talk to him after the show.
Yeah.
All right. That was just too perfect. It was actually very good timing, too. I like that. Anyway, as always, thanks to our associate producer, C. FaZe. We appreciate his help in putting this show together.
Nope, it's not.
It's never going to get old.
That horse will never die.
Yep. One last time, though, special thanks to our members, Chris, Lorena, Tyrone, those are our final girls and guys. Also to our Crazy Ralphs, Rick and Raymond, and our camp counselors, 42nd Street Pete, Corey, Luke, Michigan Dave, S. Michael, Stacy Lynn, Orlando, Patricia, and JJ. Thank you, guys.
I can't hear it.
Make sure
I don't know if they can hear it either.
You can't hear that?
I can't hear it. Can you guys hear the applause out there in TV land?
No?
We might have an issue. FaZe says, nah.
Hold on, let's see. Anything there?
Nothing.
Well, that's just bizarre.
How about now?
I will have to check on that. So,
See.
anyway.
Yeah.
What do we got going next week, sir?
Yeah, it's we're gonna break down. Everybody's bitching about it. I've avoided all reviews thus point, but we're gonna review not only Never Hike Alone 2. We're gonna start off with that right away, but then yes, we are gonna get into The Exorcist Believer. I don't know, man. None of us are really looking forward to it, but we're gonna do it with the due diligence because we have to, and we're hoping beyond hope that Blumhouse somehow delivered something here that maybe everybody else in the entire planet is missing, because the reviews are pretty bad. Like, just the word of mouth is bad, aside from reading anything. So I don't know, but we're going to get on that too. So Never Hike Alone 2 next week, along with The Exorcist Believer, and we'll see how if it's that bad, if it's really that bad. And then the following week, are you there, Crank? Oh, he's there. You were just
I'm here.
You were so still, it looked like you were just froze.
I'm focused.
We can talk about that when we're confirmed. Yeah, we put that out already.
Wait, which one?
The one.
Oh we put out all month because we have such a kick-ass month, man.
That's right. It's a kick. The month of October rocks, and it's not going to stop in 2 weeks with Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D. DCS in 3D. Zag Smoking Pot in 3D. How cool is that? No, we got guests. I don't know what's going on. We've got actually my guy from the video game, the model Mitch, and in the movie he doesn't play Mitch. His name isn't Mitch in the movie. It's son of a bitch, the stoner guy, the guy that looks like Chong in Part 3. All he does is smoke pot the whole movie and make popcorn and catch it in his mouth. And the gal who is pregnant in the movie,
Tracy Savage.
Yes. I can't think of the character's name, man. Debbie's the one, and she's going to join us as well. We had somebody else, but they had to back out, so maybe another time.
Yep, they're on vacation.
Vacation, and that's fair. Yeah. So we'll get them. We'll catch up with them next time on that one. But that's going to be fun, man. That's going to rock. Anything Friday the 13th is fucking welcome here. And that's one, I know Crank and I, that's one of our favorites. So it should be a good time for sure.
Yeah. I love the fact that you were able to ask him about Jennifer Cook, though. Vincent, at least, because
we had to. We had to,
Dude, like I said, if anybody in the fan film world had not just the balls, but the reputation to be able to even potentially get a phone call back, I think it would be him,
You're that turned off by Hollywood? I mean, unless there's a story behind it, obviously there could be something horrible there. We don't know. But, I mean, just Tom Matthews, ain't going to happen, dude. Don't even bother.
Yeah. It's like, and he even said she hasn't returned his phone calls in years, so that's bizarre to me. But whatever, man.
I would have been
some people get out of the business. Well, and she married rich too, so she didn't have to worry about it.
But still, I mean, you know what? That's someone that it was just a gig. It was just a fucking job. She didn't give a fuck what she was part of, the legacy, none of it. Didn't probably even know that was the 6th fucking movie in the thing. Who knows? So that's the way I feel about it now with her. She doesn't want nothing to do. They should have went with the fake Shemp. Get someone that kind of looks like her. Nobody would have noticed. Yeah. We would have.
I'm looking forward to the rest of this month, and we're starting to fill out some booking for the rest of the year. It's gonna be a fun time, and then
coming your way. Can't say who, but we're coming at you soon.
Right, and hopefully we'll be able to announce that next week, or maybe Friday. We can talk a little bit about it. We'll be on the road again.
On the road again. We are driving somewhere far again. My ass just got done having all the bunions.
You were on a plane this last time, so
it was hell though.
But we drove all over the fucking LA though.
Yeah, we drove a lot. We drove probably more
on $7 gas.
Dude, what the fuck, man? How the fuck do people get by out there?
Yeah.
You know? Well, I guess you make 90,000. It's like making 30. You know what I mean?
Right. Anywhere else, yeah.
Yeah. So it's adjusted.
The
French.
Not anytime soon, but you may be seeing at least me come through there every now and then, just for shits and giggles, or a a planning trip.
Yeah, things are afoot, Doctor.
Yeah, so
you never know.
So Albuquerque's not that far.
It is for me.
Well, yeah.
I will return when
he wasn't asking you.
Yeah, I know. When Morgan Crypt returns, that's when the Zag returns.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
It's just like, it's like the Jeepers Creepers guy except it's once a year.
Yeah. All right. We got to get going. Gang, thanks for watching. Make sure to check out our website and all our social media. Follow us on Discord and Twitter and Twitch and blah, 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 blah. I never say those things. And I've been told multiple times I should.
We should be, but I mean, I don't know.
We should be saying them all the time, but we hate being like the cookie cutter fucking shows, man. We don't want to be that. We don't want to be the ones that are like, come on in and lock our video. But we kind of have to every now and then.
You know what to do. Like,
you know what to do.
Subscribe.
You know what to do. So, yeah, there you go. Doc says, don't be a bitch, Ziggy. Make the drive.
Make the drive. I'd have to, what's a drive to Albuquerque for me? Probably about 13, 14 hours, 15 hours or something like that.
You'd have to come here, and then I'd make the drive.
Yeah.
And it'd be about 13 hours to get to me. So to get to Albuquerque, it'd be like 20, 21, 22 for you.
Okay,
probably.
then. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, that does not sound fun at all. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah.
We will see you next week with a couple of reviews of Never Hike Alone 2, and of course,
it might be good. You never know. You never know.
I'm holding out hope. Well, no, I'm not holding out hope.
Prejudge it like every other jabroni did out there. Let's just go. I'm going in cold. I haven't seen one fucking review. I've just the word of mouth is out there.
I can't go in cold because I've seen what the guy did to the last Legacy series that he did, and it started and then went so.
It's a new game here. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt.
I'm trying, but.
God. It usually leads to disappointment, but what am I going to do?
Absolutely, it does. Anyway, thanks for watching, gang. Yeah. We'll see you. Actually, we'll see you Friday when we watch details coming soon on that, because we're going to watch Never Hike Alone 2 together.
As soon as we fucking know it, we'll post it, and you fucking be here. We'll all start it at the same time, and then here we go. We'll watch it.
And then comments aplenty.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Be sweet.
See you next week.
Woo!
Woo!
Just won't get paid. These are the days when you wish your bed was already made. It's just another manic Monday. I wish it was Sunday, 'cause that's my fun day. I don't have to run day. It's just another manic Monday. I wish it was Sunday, 'cause that's my fun day. It's just another manic Monday.
Pardon my French, but you're an asshole.
What?
Asshole!